Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punching Up, your bi-weekly Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. I'm your host, Dustin. Here with me, I have Mama Micah. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Dustin. Tried a new orange juice today, so I got a little bit of extra zip in my step today.
Okay. A little extra, sometimes you got to just, it's just a new brand.
Yeah, so I always buy the orange juice at BJ's because it's the cheapest place to get it. Like, orange juice really spiked in price this year.
Okay.
But we were running out. I did not have time to go there this week. It's it's way further from our house than like the regular grocery store. So I picked up, it's not a brand I've never had, but I haven't had this orange juice in like months. And so I picked up Tropicana today. BJ's always has Simply Orange. All right. And BJ's only has one choice for orange juice. But so I got the Tropicana that was on sale. It's very good. It's just weird because I took a sip of it and I was like, that's not the flavor I was expecting. It's orange juice. Exactly. Yeah. So I feel a little more, I don't know, rejuvenated perhaps. I feel like I took some sort of mana potion this morning.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I've already had 2 cups of coffee, so I'm feeling, usually I say the second cup for the afternoon. I'm like, not today. Not today. We're going all out. Speaking of going all out, Gene Park from the Washington Post. I don't know why that was the segue. It just felt right. How are you doing this wonderful morning?
What is BJ's?
Oh, it's like Costco. And like where I grew up, that's like the only warehouse club was BJ's. Or like if you drove further out, you had Sam's Club, which I think is affiliated with Walmart. And then Costco was far away, like an hour away. So nobody went to Costco. And so I'm just not familiar with it. So when we got like a BJ's local to us here in Virginia, I was like, we have to go to this. Like, this is my warehouse club. So that's my prime choice. I've never even been to the other ones.
Shout out to places still named BJ, though.
Boldly proclaiming the BJ, just front and center. I like that. So this is, as I said, a Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. It comes out every other week. Before I get any further, I got to mention our boy Dagan, not here today. He's fine. He's not leaving the show. Nothing crazy is going on. He's just on vacation, just going out, doing his own thing. I think he's at the beach or something like that. So is that right? Is he at the beach?
I think they're in Canada.
Canada? What's there to do in Canada?
I have no idea. Like looking at a moose or something. I don't know. They were like hiking.
That actually sounds cool.
I guess. But yeah, I think that was their Canadian road trip.
Okay. Well, Dagan is out in Canada doing something. No one knows exactly. He'll be back next episode, but for today, it's just the 3 of us hanging out. We've got an awesome show prepared for you. And as I said, this comes from Last Stand Media, which is patreon.com/laststandmedia, where you can get the show early on Tuesday instead of Friday. And that's just at the $5 level. You get the audio ad-free, but you get access to both audio and video early, along with all the other benefits that we have, like extra Sacred Symbols Plus, extra Defining Duke, early access to all those shows, along with Constellation. And by the way, I got to make sure the new merch, which I'm wearing the new Constellation tee. I'm super happy with how this came out.
The Constellation shirt.
We can get you one.
Yeah.
Micah, we can hook you up.
I keep saying that, but I keep forgetting to ask Micah.
Yeah, no problem. And then, of course, for this show, we do have the Punching Up sticker, which I absolutely love. You can get one of those. And if you're in the US, you get free shipping domestically. And I think most of Europe is only $1, right? We have like that special postage, right?
Yeah, the international stamps. Yeah, they just run us a little bit extra. So we do charge a little bit for those, but it's worth it, I promise.
Yeah, you can just get a few different stickers. And check that out. That's laststandmedia.store. Guys, I was telling you before the show, I wanted to get right into the news this week for our main topic. And it's a big one. It's probably going to be a reoccurring theme for many months on this show. So I guess we can consider this the kickoff.
It's probably the
of-
big story for the rest of for at least the first half of 2024, if of course the reporting is accurate, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So we got our I don't want to say the very first, but I would say probably the most substantial overall news / leak about the next generation console from Nintendo, which I think, I don't know what it will be called, but I'm just going to call it Switch 2 overall for now. It could be something different. We can get into that. But I want to point to this article from Video Game Chronicle. They were the source on this, talking about, which I believe they call it Nintendo Switch 2 as well. But of course, that's up in the air. So that's the article that I'm pulling this from. But I have the key points laid out, and then we can talk and speculate a bit about what we think is going on here. So Video Game Chronicle reports that Nintendo is working on this new console for the second half of 2024. And that's specifically so they can build up the stock to avoid any kind of shortages. Namely, you saw what happened with the PlayStation 5 just recently. They want to avoid that. They also confirmed that it's still going to be a hybrid console, which I think makes a lot of sense. But here's where things get a little weird from this article, is that they said it could launch with an LCD screen to bring down the costs and offset the price of the storage. So no OLED, or at least what they know is that it could be an LCD screen. So we can get into that. But also the storage potentially is going to be much higher on this Switch. I think they said like 512 gigs, half a terabyte range, just because the size of games is getting so much bigger. They can't just squeak by with 32 gigs in the current Switch.
Mm-hmm.
It will use physical games still, and of course digital if you'd like, via a cartridge slot. If that's the same as the old Switch is unknown. But the rumors are confirming that we should also be a little hesitant, as we've been saying on this show, that backwards compatibility is still unclear in some ways. I don't know if, from their source, they said that they didn't know. I don't know if it's up in the air for Nintendo. I did pull one quote where it says, third-party publishers are said to have expressed concern that legacy support for Switch games could negatively affect sales of next-gen titles, which felt real gross to me. Just that the third party's like, oh yeah, we should not include backwards compatibility so we can get more sales. Pretty lame. So let's get into the conversation here. I want to kick us off with a write-in from Zeke the Plumber, who says, hey, PU crew. With Switch 2 seemingly on the horizon, based on the recent leaks and speculation, what are some key features you might expect from Nintendo's next console? I'm hoping for some sort of backwards compatibility with the Switch, but I realize Nintendo has their own way of handling good old games on new system. Appreciate you all. Thanks. So I've talked enough here. Gene, I'll throw this to you first. How are you feeling about this news and about just the idea of the next gen Switch finally materializing, even just a small way?
There's so much to respond to in all of those key points, but I think, to answer Zeke's question, first of all, I think via feature set, I don't want anything fancy. I like what the Switch is doing. Like, I don't want them to have like a fucking circle screen or anything like that. Like Nintendo,
the oval from the last Switch. Remember that leak, or the leak? It was a console that was like an oval that was all screen.
I never saw that, but I'm glad
horrible.
I didn't, because that would just give me nightmares.
Yeah.
Nintendo, just don't listen to that side of your brain, and just keep doing what you're doing. But the feature I would like more is, either a return to the eShop, the Wii U eShop. As people might know, I reconnected my Wii U, and I'm like, man, I really miss the eShop here, or expand Nintendo Switch Online to, what would be a great way to get people to sign up for your new Switch 2 online service? GameCube games, right?
Ooh,
Yeah.
That would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What if you offered that? And maybe that's why they're taking forever to port over so many GameCube classics over to speaking of like, new sales of legacy titles, they could just package like Luigi's Mansion 1, or Star Fox Adventures in the Nintendo Switch Online. And that wouldn't that be interesting? I would totally be down for some Star Fox Adventures.
Oh yeah. That's such a
Um,
weird game. I've never played it, but I've always thought it's got a furry vibe.
Yeah, exactly. I never finished it because I know like this was like before furries were like a huge thing.
Nintendo was onto something.
But I was already like uncomfortable with it, because
Yeah.
they looked a little too uncanny valley, a
Yeah.
little too realistic, a little too tempting.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Micah, in broad strokes, I know, like Gene said, this is a lot to take in. I have other write-ins to kind of point us in different parts of this conversation, but how are you feeling about this leak in general?
Yeah, in general, I'm happy with what I see. I like the idea that they really want to avoid shortages. That's very not Nintendo. So I'm glad that they are trying to think ahead and, mitigate that already. That is promising to me, and I hope that works. I certainly will be first in line to pre-order one as soon as they're available. Seeing, still a hybrid console, that's exactly what I want. I love the Switch for that, dual ability that I can use the TV when no one else is using it. And if I want to hang out with Colin while he's playing PlayStation, I still can. So that's really important to me. And that's like number one on my list, honestly. Ahead of backwards compatibility, I wanted, the same hybrid console. With the screen issue, I mean, I'm not super bothered by it. I do think it's weird that you've sort of released like a Switch Pro, not, with a better screen. And then you'd be like, let's just go back to the screen from 2017. That's a little weird to me, but if they really shopped around and said it's a difference of, let's say $100 on that launch price, maybe they really do just want to make it an easier Christmas buy for parents, let's say. And, especially if you need two of them or something. But it's a little disappointing to think that you'll buy this new console and then maybe they'll do the same thing of like a couple of years later, here comes the OLED Switch 2. So that's a bit of a disappointment, but not the end of the world for me. I just think it's more weird than anything. And then when it comes to like the backwards compatibility, what you mentioned about the third-party publishers, it's like I get where they're coming from. And maybe that doesn't mean no backwards compatibility though. What if your old Switch games can be played on the new Switch, but it's just that the new games can't be played on the old one? Like, your new 3DS XL, for example, and it's like, oh, this has more functionality, so you can't play these games on your old shitty, the 2DS, the one shaped like a toast. Like, maybe it's more like that, and it's just that the newest games can't be played on the old Switch, but your old Switch games could be played on the new one. I would hope for something like that in light of what those, publishers are sort of seem like they asking for. But like this is for me overall pretty promising, and
I think they're
I'm just more
upset
excited.
that the third-party games can, or the old Switch games can be played on the new Switch. So third-party publishers are upset that they can't sell, for example, an upgraded version of, I guess Bayonetta 3 or something like that, or Bayonetta 3's first party, but
Yeah.
They're upset that they can't resell the same game, the old Switch game, on a new Switch game.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I just kind of misread that, but yeah. It is just one of those. How many people are also gonna rebuy it if it's not very old? I mean, it's not The Last of Us, right?
Yeah,
I don't plan to
It'll just
buy
piss
that
people off
same
more,
game 3 more times. That's really the only game I've bought so many times besides Grand Theft Auto 5. So it's almost like, I mean, stay in your lane. How many times do you think I'm going to buy Bayonetta 3? I didn't even buy it once.
Right.
Or The Last Hope.
Dude, The Last Hope. Yeah, I saw that and almost thought about putting it in the news, but I was like, I think
I kind of wish I bought it before it got pulled off the shelves now. So,
it's gone for good.
For people don't know, The Last Hope is a super janky rip-off version of The Last of Us that was available on the Switch.
Yeah, on the eShop. There's a great Digital Foundry video all about it, that it's, immortalized it now. Yeah. So I recommend checking that out. But I think too, as far as the, Micah, you bring up the third-party publisher quote. I think there's also an element where there's a thing with new consoles where, because it's reset, you're resetting the library down to just a very small amount of games. And so particularly at launch, pretty much anything you release at launch sells, even if it sucks, So I think that there could be an element too where third-party publishers like, well, we still have to compete with the old library if there's, so I think that could be part of it too.
Oh, that's another way to look at it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So it's just like if you're worried about there being too many options, just make a better game that competes and is better. So people are interested in it. That's my thought. But I want to get into this screen issue. And our friend Phil McCarthy wrote in about this exactly. He says, "Hey folks, greetings and love from Ireland. My apologies if this has been asked or addressed already, as I'm just back from a couple weeks of beautiful solitude in Iceland." That sounds fantastic. Mine is a simple question about the potential specs for the Switch 2. Would you consider the return to an LCD screen over the gorgeous OLED to be a shit move on Nintendo's behalf, and pretty much signaling to us to expect a copy and paste mid-gen refresh, or an improved but cheaper LCD from the next console be good enough for the masses? Thank you for an incredible show and keep punching up, Phil. So I think he, brings up a question that a lot of us are asking. Particularly, I think this is most disappointing for people that have the OLED Switch, because it's one of those things where people have asked me about, should I upgrade to the OLED Switch? It's like, well, if you've never seen it and you're happy, then don't, because you're just better off not knowing. Because once you experience the OLED screen, you could never go. It feels like you never could go back to the old screen because it's just that much better. The bigger screen size, the better contrast, it's brighter, everything. It's just awesome. But according, like I said, to this Video Game Chronicle article, that is something that they are potentially cutting back on to bring down the price. And I wonder too, if there is a big concern about shortages, if they're just concerned about sourcing enough OLED screens, and I would assume they're going to continue to support the old Switch for a good number of years. You just don't leave that many that install base out. You keep supporting it for a while. So I find this to be extremely disappointing if true. And my argument is that I think Nintendo should just release two versions at launch. Have your one that's easy, or I guess a cheaper, easier buy for most people that are interested in checking out this device. I would assume that would be around $399. So that's a little higher than the last Switch, considering inflation and stuff. And then release another one at $499 that has a better screen, maybe some more storage or something like that. But this is Nintendo we're talking about. And why would they do that when they can sell you an LCD one today and an OLED one in 2 years? Because people like us, particularly Gene and I, Micah, you've been able to resist, but Gene and I will buy it anyway and just deal with
switches,
it.
So.
Well, that's what I say, Mr. 12 Switch or whatever. Gene, how are you feeling about the possibility of going back to an LCD screen?
It is a bummer. It's okay because I've been playing a lot on my Steam Deck, so my eyes can adjust. But it is a bummer to know. First of all, it would suck to play the old Switch games on the new Switch LCD, right? So like Luigi's Mansion 3, for example, looks amazing on the OLED screen. And I'm going to play it, at 60 frames per second, but on an LCD screen. I guess that means I'll just have to buy an OLED TV. I still don't have one. I still have a regular LCD TV. But yeah, it would be a bummer to know that it would be kind of like at least an aesthetic downgrade. I don't even want to say visual downgrade because that implies engine work and textures and graphics and stuff like that. But it's not the same. But yeah, you can totally expect Nintendo to do that. If Nintendo is predictable in one way, it's that they will resell the same SKU in a different shell or a different casing. They invented that model of doing that. Remember the pumpkin spice GameCube.
Right, and that wasn't any different. I'm thinking kind of like Game Boy Color,
Game Boy Light,
Game Boy Light, all these different slight variations of one console. They've continued to do that over and over, as you said.
And yeah, and they didn't put in a light for the original Game Boy because of battery considerations, right?
Mm.
So I'm sure, like Micah said, Micah's totally correct. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with price, making sure that the pricing is right. But yeah, to your point, Dustin, that's a great idea to sell two. And it
It's
wouldn't.
too good of an idea for Nintendo.
Yeah, and it wouldn't even be like an Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, like condition where like the developers have to like worry about two different SKUs.
Right.
It's just the same SKU. They just have a different display, and it would be cool to have for the more visual fans of people who just want a better screen to just have
Right.
the OLED screen right off the bat.
And it's not totally unprecedented for Nintendo to have two SKUs at launch. They did that with the Wii U,
Mhm.
but the only difference being the size of storage, and I believe the more expensive one. So the more expensive one was black. It had more storage, and I think it came with a pack-in
Mhm.
game. So
Yeah,
it wouldn't be totally unorthodox, but this would be a little more than that.
yeah. But again, to your point, the issue is if they're trying to sell to a customer like me and they sell both at the same time, they know that I would never buy the LCD version if the OLED version is out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely buy the LCD version first if that's the only thing available, and then the OLED version later, because I would definitely buy that. So boom, it just wrung out $300, $400 more out of me, and
Exactly.
they know they can do that, so they will. So.
That Nintendo is fantastic at knowing that we're weak and we'll just get both. But not Micah. Micah is the strongest one of us here, still rocking the standard model. And so, Micah, I'm guessing this wouldn't really bother you any because you're just kind of making a lateral move here, right?
Yeah, but I will say I'm disappointed because I have held out on getting the OLED Switch, and partly because as soon as I considered getting one is when these rumors started really coming out. They're like, the new one's coming next year. And I just kept thinking, well, I don't want to drop the money on it. And I don't want to sell my original Switch. Like, it's in good shape, not great. I could get something for it, but I just want to keep it. I want to keep that original launch Switch. So I just don't want to spend the money on an OLED Switch now when we're so close to the next one. I mean, even if it's, over a year away, it's like it's not a lot of time considering that we've had this thing for so long. So it's more of a disappointment for me because I've just been waiting for that upgrade. But yeah, in real terms, it's not going to be a downgrade, at least for my experience. It'll be the same pretty much. It makes me super curious though about like what will like a new Switch Lite, for example. Is that something that they're going to bring back? I mean, because knowing that Holly has one, that's a whole other factor of if you're used to having two Switches in the house, and let's say that at launch there's no Switch Lite, how many families are going to be like, I mean, the kids are used to having two of these, or like we're used to having two of these and not having to share them. Now we got to buy two, and of the docked model, let's say. And then later on, let's say they upgrade to the OLED, then you're like, do I upgrade both of them? I mean, that's its own other thing that could really sell them a lot of units, but it could be problematic for the people who are just, already used to having multiple devices in the house. My sister has, I think, 3 Switches in their house. I mean, they have 2 lights and a docked one. When they want to upgrade, it's going to be a serious consideration of, do we wait and see if they make more of these little ones or what?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Nintendo, I think when they switched to the hybrid model, it was kind of, obviously strange because we had never seen anything like that. But now when you think about it, about how like galaxy brained move this was, as far as being able to consolidate all of their development into one platform instead of two, that was kind of a big one for them, especially as the cost of making a handheld game was starting to get more and more expensive, closer to console level release. But also just in the fact that because of its handheld, it's still a handheld and and it's a console. So now they can sell everyone in your house a console to some degree, instead of a one console and multiple handhelds. It's like everyone's getting their own console to some degree, and they're able to make concessions with that, with the Switch Lite, which like as you mentioned, Holly has one. She loves it, which I think the Switch Lite is awesome, but I love the TV experience that I would never want to give that up. So anyway, back to the Switch successor, Switch 2, whatever you want to call it. let's talk a little bit. I have two questions we can kind of wrap together, and then I have a few another write-in. But let's talk about both the technical aspects, like how much more powerful do you want this thing to be, and also what do you think the price point should be? For me, I feel like one of the big things we talked about this a little bit on Sacred Symbols is that the Switch currently uses NVIDIA tech inside. It uses their mobile chip. And so the main thing that I want from a technical perspective, actually, you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just read. Oh, wait, no, I took that question out. I'm all over the place. I thought I wrote in a question at one point that was like, what features would you like to see? Sorry, whoever wrote that, I deleted it, and I'm just making it my own question. So the NVIDIA tech to be able to do like 4K upscaling through DLSS, that's something that I think would be huge, in that you could have a device that's on par with something like PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. It outputs 1080p, but then through DLSS, which uses AI upscaling for anyone who's not in the PC space and knows what that is, it can up-res it to 4K, and in some cases look better than actual 4K, which is crazy. So something like that, I feel like would be the dream scenario. And the other thing too is that I think keeping it at 720p for the screen, totally fine for me. I know some people, if it comes out at 720p, they'll be disappointed, like, oh, we're not getting a resolution increase. When I see the OLED Switch, I'm like, this is totally fine.
You
I don't need
you don't need it to be any more than that. That's crazy.
Yeah, you just don't need. There's diminishing returns, particularly on a device you're holding that close to your face. And then as far as price point, I think that, like I said earlier, $399 would make sense in that it is more expensive than the launch Switch just because of inflation. And I don't know. I mean, theoretically, they could push it further, but I feel like they really want to differentiate themselves from the $499 price point of the PS5 and the Series X. But even then, when this comes out, we could see a price drop for those. So, putting it a little more in line. But Micah, what kind of technical or even just features in general would you want the most? And what do you think the price point would be?
Yeah, so I'm a caveman when it comes to technology. So in old man terms of my issues with the Switch, number one, loading times. This thing,
oh yeah,
it's awful.
Right off of Pikmin right now. You're feeling it.
Pikmin 4, it's great. We'll talk about that later. But like the loading times, man, awful. Like garbage loading times. I'm talking like if even with, we could sort of mention on the last show, they have these like little animations like for, several of the transitions essentially. And it's kind of to hide how long the loading takes. But sometimes it's still not ready even after the, 15-second animation plays, and you're still just waiting. So I definitely, I don't know the words for it, but I need this thing to be more powerful because those loading times, horrible. And I'll also say on some of these games, like you can just really tell it's struggling to just like to render like the world, because Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, the pop-in was like I was playing the first Borderlands game on 360. Like every step you take, things are just like booming up on the screen, but only a few feet ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it was a step back. And I'm like, this game was made for, Switch. Like they put this on Switch. It looked decent. It played pretty well aside from like the really slow loading times. There were times too where like if there were too many enemies attacking me at once, it like really started to stutter a bit. So like that's my number one, is just this thing's got to be more powerful, because when it comes to like the draw distance or whatever in some of these games, like it's unsettling to feel like you're playing a 360 game and every time you take a step, you're just watching things very close to you pop in. I don't mean things way in the distance, like things that are, a few feet from your character just popping up along the pathway. It feels outdated. That's my number one thing.
So yeah,
yeah, it just
that is pop in the video game.
Yeah, no, and loading times is like that's my number one, because I'm like really not a graphics snob by any means, but it's just getting to a point where it feels so old. In terms of price point, I'm with you, Dustin. I'm thinking like 400 is the sweet spot to get the upgrades that we want to stay current with inflation, as Colin loves to talk about. And it is, though. It's like, it's not gonna be a PlayStation 5. It's not.
Mhm.
So I think we'd probably stay around that mark. I mean, I don't really see them going higher than that, especially with, and it's an unfortunate thing that Nintendo is so family friendly because, again, you're going to have parents making the consideration of, we currently have our kids used to having 2 of these. You know, a lot of families will probably just get one initially if they're used to having 2 even. But it's like, that's something to consider of how expensive do we make this when we know people are already considering buying multiples. You know, that's just something they have to factor in.
Right. Gene, what do you want from a technical aspect or just features in general and price point?
Yeah, I mean, Micah brings up an amazing point. We're really, really used to fast loading speeds now, especially if you're using the Switch as a supplemental console to like your main with probably a PS5, probably an Xbox or a PC. But then you have an SSD on all of them, right? And gosh, I don't know if you could fit an SSD on a portable system like the Switch too, but wouldn't that be nice?
You definitely can. I mean, the Steam Deck has an SSD in it, so I would imagine you'd be able to fit that.
You know, Final Fantasy 16 loads so fast. You know, it'll be a worse game if it didn't load as fast as it did. So think about how much better so many other games could be. You know, some Switch games still do load pretty fast. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, very zippy. But yeah, third-party games also take forever too. You know, I'm a big fan of the original Resident Evil 1 remake. That has slower loading times than it did on the GameCube. So, yeah,
That's
definitely.
crazy.
I think that's the number one priority. I hope they figured that out. I hope they have figured it out, because if they haven't figured it out by now, I don't know what they're doing. So,
are you with Micah and I on the $399 price? Or
yeah, totally.
I think there's a possibility too. I remember when the Switch came out and it was, what was it? $349 or was it $299?
No, it was
I think it was $299.
Oh, and the OLED was $349. Right. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does bump it up $100.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about
if it's going to be a portable PS4 and the Steam Deck is $500. You know, I wouldn't even be surprised, I guess, if it ended up being $500, depending on how powerful it is. You know.
Yeah.
But what if it does have an SSD? I would pay $500 for that. You know.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing to me, thinking about how it sounds like they're trying to keep the price down. They're trying to do specific things like, LCD screen. So I wonder just where a lot of that money is going. Maybe this thing is going to be pretty powerful and also very expensive, even with an LCD screen. Like, there's a possibility that it is $499. It has an LCD screen, and they're like, this is the best we could do. We didn't want to make it any more expensive, and this is already on probably the highest end. And just thinking about how bad inflation is between 2017 and what will be 2024, I feel like that is definitely in the realm of possibility too, about it being higher. It's definitely not going to be any lower than $399 for sure. So
yeah, I don't think we're getting another $299 system.
Yeah, those days are over. So one last write-in that I think is a really fun one and very important. Sometimes we don't even think about how important a launch lineup can be to a system. This is from Where is the Virus, who says, "Greetings. I would love to hear your thoughts on the potential launch lineup for Switch 2. I think Nintendo is smart enough to realize they need to get a huge exclusive to get people and families interested in a new console. I'm predicting the next mainline 3D Mario will launch with Switch 2 and will not be cross-gen. But speaking of cross-gen, I'm also predicting Metroid Prime 4 will be a launch title as well. But given the behind-the-scenes issues with what I'm sure is a huge budget, they want this to be a cross-gen to get it in as many homes as possible. Thoughts?" So yeah, Switch 2, what could the launch lineup be? This is kind of the big question. And he brings up, first of all, Metroid Prime 4, which has been in development hell for seemingly forever right now. And also I remember there were some rumors about the next mainline Mario. For a while, there was rumors that that team was working on a Donkey Kong game, and that kind of evaporated and went into nowhere. Who knows if that was true? But you have to imagine the Mario synergy right now, is alive and well. Nintendo making them billions of dollars. That surely they were, wargaming this and thinking like, okay, Mario movie, huge sales. Then following year, we got a new console and the best looking Mario game you've ever seen in your life exclusively on it. I feel like, man, that's such a sound strategy in a lot of ways. But the thinking back to the Switch launch is funny now, because there were a few things that were interesting, but really it was all about Zelda. In fact, I think that if that system didn't have Zelda, we'd be looking at a very different landscape now as far as the Switch being a success, because it was one of those games that hit. It was a must play. It was like, you're going to eventually get used to the system. Even if you just play this game, it's going to be worth it. It was kind of the message around that time. So, Micah, how do you feel? What would you like to see for a launch lineup for the system or any specific games?
Yeah, I agree with our listener write-in that I think a new mainline Mario would be a slam dunk for them. They absolutely need to keep capitalizing on the Mario hype. They're already doing that this fall. Looking back to the Direct, like we got Super Mario RPG coming out in November. Like they're doing it. And then what is it? Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the one with the elephant. So
yeah,
like they're already making moves, Mario moves. So I think next year they got a plan for that. We have the unnamed Peach game, which is like one of the top of my list games to learn more about. I'd like to think that that's a launch title for the new console. I mean, we didn't even get a name for it. So they were keeping that really kind of hidden. It's like you get a glimpse of it, but that's it. So that's my number one hope for what's going to be like launch lineup, because I love Peach. And that's another thing to capitalize on, from the Mario movie, Peach being a very big character in that, obviously. So that's kind of where I'm going with this, is agreeing with the listener that mainline Mario. But for me, that Peach game is what I'm looking forward to. Like, that's top of my list.
Okay. Gene, what would you like to see?
It's too bad that we just got a Zelda game, right? It's too bad for Nintendo.
Master Quest, Tears of the Kingdom Master Quest.
Oh my god!
On launch day, 60 FPS.
Or the DLC, right? Maybe a DLC, and maybe they do it Horizon Forbidden West style, and the DLC is only exclusive to the Switch too. Who knows?
Yeah,
that'd be an interesting tactic, but it's too bad for Nintendo that there's no Zelda. There won't be no new Zelda to sell, because you think about the system that did really well for them. They had a Zelda launch title, the Wii, the Switch, GameCube didn't have one. They had Luigi's Mansion as a launch title,
Yeah.
And yeah, look, if you look at the old Switch launch lineup, I remember this lineup so well, because going back to our earlier conversation about other third-party clips are wanting to buy every game at launch. Like, I bought Snipper Clips and I never have played that game.
It's too stressful.
Yeah, I played it like for like 5 minutes and I was like, okay, I'm not playing this. So I Am Setsuna, that's actually a rare game now, because it's so hard to find. It came out on launch. Fast RMX, a racing game. I bought that one too. I enjoyed it a little bit, but I really didn't play much of it. But yeah, a new Mario game would be great. Metroid Prime would be great, but for the hardcore crowd. But it's really only like 4 million of us probably at most that would probably buy that. So yeah, I would think that Mario is the big bet, and it'd be interesting to see how much Mario can push a new hardware, because we know that Zelda will move hardware, no problem,
Mm-hmm.
But Mario, it's been a while,
Yeah, I have one last question for you guys. The article states the second half of 2024. And the question is, when do you think this thing will be announced? And when do you think it will come out? So that leaves you around 6 months. Things to consider: Nintendo is still selling a lot of Switches and a lot of Switch software, which we're going to get into in a little bit. So I'm sure that that's a factor for them. But Micah, when are we going to see this thing? When are we going to hear about it?
It's hard because Nintendo, they're cagey. I'd like to think that if they were operating as a normal company, you'd probably get like an announcement, of like, we're working on something in spring. Maybe we'd get to see the console in like summer, maybe a release in like November. Because if they're eyeing second half of the year, that just screams Christmas to me. So it's always that dicey thing of like, you release this thing too early, the kids are going to be clamoring for it. All right. The parents, they need time to buy it. Like November gives every parent time to try and secure one and have it by Christmas, Hanukkah, what have you. But you release this thing in like September and then it's like, oh, the kids know you bought it and they're just waiting for Christmas. So I feel like they're eyeing holiday with these games, especially too, like talking about new Peach game, new Mario game. I feel like that's just slam dunk for Christmas. So that's what I'm going for in terms of when we'll actually get it.
Yeah. I wonder, well, Gene, I want to hear from you first before I say my thoughts. So what are you thinking?
Same thing, but we talk a lot about kids, but we know it's mostly gonna be older men like us,
Yeah.
riding at the Walmart like we're Kai Cenat fans at Union Square, New York City, the blessed with the promise of a free PlayStation 5, and we don't get it, and we're just going to buy it.
What was going on with that? That was something.
That was crazy. I can't believe that. I can't believe that he thought that was a good idea. No one told him that it was a bad idea, and that nobody got a PlayStation 5. Come on, man.
You know what's funny about that situation, real quick, as an aside, is that I have no idea who that guy is. I've never heard of him in my life. Neither at Holly. I'm like, I am definitely old now, I guess, because I don't even know this guy's in my space of streaming and gaming, and I have no idea who he is.
He doesn't play too much. I think he was into GTA Online, like role playing for a little bit. But mostly he does pranks. There's only one video I really enjoyed.
He's one of them. Okay.
And there's only one video I really enjoy by him. It's like 20 seconds long, and it's that YouTube video of the guy showing his butthole.
Yeah, when did we talk about that? Was that on this show? Yeah, because we talked about Nair, and I clipped it out and put it on Twitter.
That's right. Yeah. It's sorry to keep bringing it back up, but like he was really funny in that like he sent his buddy a link. He was like, "Hey man, can you open this video link? I'm trying to post it, and can you see it?" And I'm like, oh, all right, let me see it. And then like 2 seconds later, it's like, oh my god! So that was funny.
Be careful.
That was a very funny Kai Cenat bit. But that's pretty much the only thing that I watch his stuff, and I have to say that this is just a generation too far for me. It's not for. I don't think it's for us at all.
Yeah. Hey, it was going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
And here we are. But where were we? Talking about, oh yeah, you were saying with Micah, you're on the same page as far as holiday 2020. You're looking at the later half, right?
Yeah, it looks like I'm pretty sure they're going to try to milk as much of 2023 as they can. And yeah,
Yeah, I'm kind of two minds. I think that you guys are totally plausible in that, but I also see a reality where they, depending on what they have available in their software lineup, is that they could sell everybody this thing, like announce it in June and then have it release in September and then like sprinkle out a few more games over, October, November, December. And I think that when people buy a console, they usually, they'll buy the console, maybe an accessory and a game or two, but a lot of people eventually like have a limit because they spent so much money to get the device. So if you sprinkle out a few more things, the wallet wound can heal slightly. And like, oh, well, it has been a month or two. I've got paid a few times since then. Maybe I will pick up another new game for my console or my new console or that. So, but another point, Gene, you bring up is that they, I'm sure, are very cautious to cannibalize the Switch with its current install base of, millions, hundreds of millions of units out there. So, well, close to hundreds, but that they want to make sure they keep that riding and keep those people happy. And I expect a long tail on the life of the Switch. Not super long, but I would expect a year or two that we're still seeing updates. Maybe not cross-gen from Nintendo, but definitely still support from third parties and indie developers. That's actually one last good point is about that cross-gen. It's weird to think about Breath of the Wild being a cross-gen game, but this is something that Nintendo does, and I wonder if we will see a few of these cross-gen games. I think Metroid Prime 4 would be a great candidate for that, just because it's been in development for the standard Switch for so long that they've been targeting that, and then they can just kind of make a slightly better version, sort of like Breath of the Wild, just kind of upgrade it and update it to a new hardware and then go from there. So I think that's about all we can cover on this new Switch for the time being, unless Micah or Gene, do you guys have any final thoughts that we didn't go over that you'd like to talk about?
No, I'm just looking at some breaking news right now.
Breaking news, what's happening?
Well, it's in our notes later, but Red Dead Redemption for the Switch come out August 17th.
Oh, it's actually announced.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, that's so funny. I wrote that up. So
Yep.
we'll just play that. Let's cover it now. Let's do it right now. We're done with the Switch Pro news or whatever it is.
I got an email from Rockstar. Let me read it for everyone.
Go ahead. Read the press release.
The press release, email from Rockstar. Experience the epic Western adventure Red Dead Redemption and its groundbreaking zombie horror companion Undead Nightmare as both games come to the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 for the very first time in a single package. In a new conversion by Double 11 Studios, the Switch and PS4 versions will bring the two classic experience together again for both new players, blah, 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 across modern consoles, including backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 5. So this is a PlayStation 4 game. Interesting. One of the most critically games of all time, blah, 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 blah. We know all that stuff. Vanderland game, Red Dead Redemption. Also includes Undead Nightmare, Hollowed Story expansion.
Hell yeah.
In addition to both classic single-player experiences, newly supported languages include, for the first time, simplified and traditional Japanese, Korean, Polish, Brazilian Portuguese, Russian, and Latin American Spanish. The game will be $49.99 on both systems.
Okay, so eShop and PlayStation Store.
Yeah, PlayStation Store too. And with physical releases arriving October 13. Interesting.
Okay. Man, there's so much to unpack here. Some of this we've been discussing on Sacred Symbols, but I gotta say the most interesting thing about this to me is just that it's not coming out on Xbox.
Yeah, no shit, dude. That's crazy.
Here's my theory about that, is that you can already play Red Dead Redemption on your Series X in 4K. It's already like pretty good. So that I wonder if what they're doing here is kind of the most basic of update.
So if you see the trailer, this is not a remaster or a remake. This is a port.
Yes. That's what I'm seeing right now too.
Yep. It's the same game.
Interesting. I wonder, even this doesn't say anything about like a 60 FPS at all. Like for the, I would imagine like the PS4 version, I wonder if it could do 60 FPS, or if you at least play it on PS5, could you get 60 FPS? But I guess the Xbox version doesn't do that. So
the Xbox version doesn't do that. No, it just upscales it to 4K, which it was gorgeous. I played it again on the Xbox Series X. It's great. You know.
Very, very interesting.
So yeah, this is just for the PlayStation backwards compatibility, basically. You know, just taking it off the PS3, you know, and then charging people up $50 for it on PS4. That sucks, man. That sucks. Dude.
If you've got an old Xbox 360 copy, you're in theory going to get the same thing that you can pop in, or get the digital version.
Xbox they're going to win this one, actually.
Yeah, they're going to bump up the price of the digital version. I bet you they already did to make sure that it's on par. One other thing to emphasize is just that this is coming out, and maybe you said this, but it just didn't hit me at the time. August 17th.
10
That's
days.
in 10 days from the time of recording. 10 days. Wow. And then eventually the physical version too, October 13th. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So first of all, Micah, overall thoughts, but second, you sound pretty excited about the Undead Nightmare being included in that.
Yeah, so Red Dead Redemption is my all-time favorite game ever.
Cool.
So
Oh,
very
I
big
didn't know
fan.
that.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
Did not know
yeah,
that.
Hell
no,
yeah.
Yeah.
that is my all-time favorite game. It's really what got me into gaming. It was the first time I said I didn't know video games could be like this. Like that was my
Mhm.
moment of like, holy shit, like this is a huge story. And also I love like westerns. I grew up watching westerns with my mom, like Gunsmoke and stuff like that. So I just was a really big fan. And seeing a western video game, I was like, this is incredible. So I'm a huge fan. Undead Nightmare was my first zombie game. Terrified me. Like I had nightmares, but it was so much fun. I couldn't stop playing it despite how like scared I was. And that is a big reason that I got into horror games at all. I still don't play them very often, but that game is just top of the tops for me. And I was looking over at my stack of games over here because I have Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year edition for Xbox One, which includes Undead Nightmare. And it's like there's really zero reason why this current one would go to Xbox because we have it. Like I can put that disc in my new Xbox. You could put, as Dustin mentioned, like you could play the old one on your Xbox. So there's zero reason for it to go over there, but it's neat that it'll be on Switch. I would want to buy it only for the collection, like get a physical copy, but I don't see myself playing this on Switch when I can play it on, my Xbox. Like there's really no reason for me to buy it. I still might though, just because the collector, tingling says I should.
Yeah.
I'm a little bummed that it doesn't look like it's anything new, you know? I'm not 100% sure I want to replay Red Dead Redemption 1. I definitely don't want to replay Red Dead Redemption 2. And I like that game, but I can't go through it again.
Yeah.
Part 1, I don't know. I've wanted it on the Switch, but now I'm not so sure anymore, Um, I kind of would rather have Grand Theft Auto 5, and I like Red Dead Redemption better as a game. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 would be a lot more fun on the Switch than RDR1. I don't know. I'll definitely get it though, 100%.
One thing to note just from this press release, it definitely says in a new conversion by Double 11 Studios. And we had already kind of said that this is like the least amount of remaster I think that they could possibly do. But still, the fact that it's on the new platform as far as Switch, being able to play it portable is, I think that that's kind of like one of those crazy things that has been lost on us over the years since 2017. But it's still, I feel like, has a little magic in it when I think about when I was in 9th grade playing Red Dead Redemption on my Xbox at home and being so amazed by it. And even then, the Switch, you'll be able to play this on a handheld. It still feels like we're living in the future somewhat, even with this old 2017 hardware. But either way, I think this is exciting, particularly for
no PC release.
Yeah, that is a pretty big L.
No Red Dead Redemption 1 at all on PC, period.
Yeah.
If you're only a PC player, you never got part 1 of the story.
Notice too that this doesn't say anything about there's no multiplayer included at all.
Yeah.
Which I think the Xbox servers are still live. So the Xbox fans, they're getting it seems like they're getting the L on this.
It is still live. I played Red Dead Online on the Xbox, and my character is still there. It's so awesome, Yeah. Man, Xbox wins this one, Damn.
Yeah, so Xbox, even though you're not getting the release, you don't have to. If you have a disc, you can still play it. You get multiplayer, and you can play it right now. You don't have to wait. So
you can buy it digitally too. It's fine,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, I'm feeling it's fun reacting to this live on the show because initially it's so exciting, and now I'm thinking about, I'm like, well, no 60 FPS. Which I wouldn't expect that for the Switch. So I guess I'm talking in broad terms on our Switch show because this would be more of a PS4 game for me. No 60 FPS is a little disappointing. The fact there's no PS5 version or PC version kind of just seems like a very minimal thing for Rockstar.
Pretty low effort. Even John Linneman of Digital Foundry just tweeted, he says, I don't think this is going to be 60 FPS.
No.
So, like on the PS4.
And what I'm picturing too, one of the major components of Red Dead Redemption is hunting. And that's what, some of the achievements were tied to, like hunting, every type of animal, stuff like that. It's just a really big part of the game. And I can't imagine trying to shoot like birds, for example, on the Switch if it's stuttering, because it's just one of those things like, oh, you see a bird fly by, you're like, I gotta shoot that. And, you're looking for these little tiny animals running around, and like, I can't picture if it's just how it's gonna work. If it's a really huge game, it's an old game, but it's a really big game with a lot of dynamic parts. If you got animals just like running around, depending on which section you go to, the wildlife changes and
The Switch will
everything.
be able to handle it, unless it's a bad port. But
That's it.
Switch,
That's
Ooh,
what
that's a good thing
That's
to
what
bring
I'm
up,
worried
though.
about.
Yeah.
Like, that's what scares me. Is it going to be very good when you're talking about like, oh, hey, there's 20 raccoons in here? Is it going to start stuttering? Like, there's just things
I
like
mean,
that make me concerned.
Grove Street isn't handling this one, so Grove Street are the ones that handle the famous Grand Theft Auto remasters, and they screwed that one up. So
Right. Well, I think it's important to mention, Gene, just because I want to be as consistent as possible and keep that energy, as people always say. Don't pre-order this game under any circumstances.
No.
After what they did with the collection, you absolutely. I'm not saying it will be bad, but you absolutely should wait and see.
wait till August 17th. See how that thing is. See how it runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because
Don't pre-order it. Don't pre-order it.
Yeah.
Especially if you played it before. Don't do that.
Yeah. Cool. So Red Dead Redemption, I'm sure we'll be talking about this next episode. Will that be, where's my calendar? I'm so,
it will be out.
It'll be out. Yeah. Cool.
That should be fun. I'm a little mildly excited to play it. I don't know.
Yeah. Should be interesting. Okay, let's get into, like I said, that was going to be a news item, but it's always fun. That's happened a few times on Sacred Symbols where big news happens while recording, and so it's always fun to just react immediately in the moment. But we do have other news to get into. Okay, so starting with number one, we've got huge news in terms of Switch sales numbers. Nintendo has given us updates on this, both in the hardware and the software, and right now, we're looking at 129 million units sold. Maybe about 20% of those going to Gene with all of his Switches. So quite a big number, and getting closer to the all-time best-selling console ever. So Gene, what are you thinking about that 129 mil?
Yeah. It's I mean, you can tell Nintendo's still not done. We thought that Tears of the Kingdom was it for Nintendo, and then they dropped that direct several weeks ago, and they're like, no, we still have a lot more to go. We're gonna squeeze out every drop of this console as we can. Now, and I understand we have a question coming up, but is it gonna top the Nintendo DS and the PlayStation 2,
Yeah.
which are
Let me go ahead and read
two
that for you, Gene, and
Yeah.
I can just have you respond. This is from Fozzie Bear, which, by the way, if I remember correctly, I met Fozzie Bear walking out of an elevator in Houston, and he had a fantastic like Hawaiian button-up shirt. And that's what I remember about him. Very nice lad. So Fozzie Bear writes in and says, "Hey, punching buds. Nintendo's latest financial results have revealed that the Switch is roughly 25 million sales away from passing the DS and the PlayStation 2 to become the best-selling video game device ever. How do you think Nintendo can get the Switch over the finish line for the all-time console and handheld supremacy? With a Nintendo Switch successor on the horizon, it may be a tough accomplishment to crack. But I personally believe that in the big N, dearly, Fozzie." So, Gina, as you were saying, I pulled up the numbers here. PlayStation 2 sold 155 million units. Just behind that, Nintendo DS at 154 million. Then we have the Switch at 129. So can it reach that 155 number?
I feel like it's going to be a little hard. I feel like around 140, 150 might be the plateau for console machines. The PS2 has such a big advantage because, famously people bought it as a DVD player. The DS has an advantage because people like me bought multiple DSs too, and also like it was just a fantastic system. I think the Switch is kind of there, and it's pretty much there. So I'm gonna guess that my bet is that it'll probably sell probably 145 by the time the console closes out. I would just be a little short of it. That'll be my bet.
Micah, do you think it's possible? The thing I'm thinking here is just that we have some crazy releases still coming for the Switch with Mario Wonder, Mario RPG. So is it possible? Could these games? I mean, that's a lot to push. I think about it to push it up to that high. So what do you think Nintendo's chances are here?
Yeah, imagine being the person waiting for the Mario RPG remake. Which salute to you. That's
Yeah.
a hell of a holdout. You know, I can't believe you waited this long
Yeah.
to buy a Switch. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like when I was, gauging the responses to the Nintendo Direct, for example, the people like us who are most excited for like the RPG remake and, are people who already had the Switch.
Mhm.
So the biggest thing for me is just that we already know that a new console's coming next year. That is probably going to just really start to cut off the sales. I mean, you're going to have people who definitely buy one because their kid already asked for one for Christmas this year and it's on the list, whatever. But you're going to have people like me who I was going to buy that OLED Switch. Now I'm not. There's going to be enough of us that say, yeah, I'm not going to upgrade, or if a new one's coming out and I don't have a Switch yet, if you by some miracle don't have a Switch yet, then you're probably going to wait if you already know that it's coming out next year. But again, I'm always surprised by people who are still buying Switches. When my sister bought, the Switch Lites earlier this year, I really in my head was like, I can't believe you didn't already have one, but that was just me saying I'm such a big Nintendo fan that I will buy whatever they put out like immediately. So I think they have enough customers that will still buy some this year. We do have those, new important games coming, but I don't think they'll pass that number, especially now that we have the knowledge of a new console on the way. I think that just has to cut you off at the knees, like how many people are really going to say, yeah, I'll, immediately buy this because, and then upgrade next year. It just, for me, seems a little bit impossible that they're going to pass that number.
Yeah. I wonder some interesting data. I don't have this because I don't even know how to exactly search for this, but it'd be interesting to see a previous console, like, I don't know, PlayStation 3, for example, or even, like the Wii. How many units did it sell after the release of the following console, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or PlayStation 4. How many PS4s have they sold after the release of the PlayStation 5? Just in general across different consoles, different companies, because that would at least clue us in to some degree. And I'm sure it varies too based on support of said console. But that's always an interesting aspect to me, just like when the life after death of certain consoles, because you can still buy PlayStation 4 in stores, like or on Amazon. I've seen them. It's like, what? They're like $200 or $300 or something. It's like they're still making new ones, but how many are they actually selling? So I don't know. This is a hard one to say whether they'll get there, but either way, regardless, the Nintendo Switch has just been a monumental success that I definitely didn't see as far as when it was announced. Just kind of I don't want to say pessimism, but this is coming off the Wii U era of Nintendo. And then they're showing you a game like 1-2 Switch, and you're wondering if they still have that weird casual market in them that has killed them for so long, but then just being super successful. And part of that has to do with the software. So let's get into the software sales, because this is just so staggering to me. I want to read you guys. I believe this is the top 10 software sales from Nintendo first party on the Switch. And I'll try to go through these quickly, but it's super interesting to me. So the number 10 is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at 16 million copies. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom already cracking this list at 18.5 million copies already in like a month and a half, 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy. Super Mario Party at 19 million. Unfortunate, because that's the inferior Mario Party game on the Switch, in my opinion. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have a combined 22.6 million. Sword and Shield at 25.92 million. Super Mario Odyssey at 26. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 30 million. So oh man, think about that. Sorry to break up already, but Tears of the Kingdom is at 18 million. It's already halfway to the sales of Breath of the Wild in this short amount of time. Crazy. I'll read these last few. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 31 million. Animal Crossing New Horizons at 42 million. Man, they're not thankful for the pandemic, but surely that helped this game quite a bit. And then last but not least, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 55 million copies of a port of a Wii U game. Just insane. So, Gene, I just threw out a lot of information, but a lot of really interesting stuff. I mean, like I said, Tears of the Kingdom already halfway to Breath of the Wild. And just insane software. Think about this compared to Sony or Microsoft. Microsoft's kind of doing a different game right now with Game Pass, but
imagine who knows what their games are selling.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are your thoughts about just these insane software numbers?
Well, I just the going back to our Red Dead Redemption conversation. I just got a funny reply on Twitter. This is it's also on Switch, which is neat because that means PC finally gets its own release of Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, they can emulate it.
Because that means it's going to be emulated immediately. So there's that. In terms of the numbers, yeah, I mean, it's astounding, right? Like we celebrate like God of War Ragnarok making like what 10 million or whatever in like a long time. You know, there's a famous joke that Jeff Grubb and I always make that, you know, it's like, hey, great job, God of War Ragnarok, great job, Ghost of Tsushima, but you're not Luigi's Mansion 3, you know? And Luigi's Mansion 3 is the 16th best-selling game at 12.82 million. And and it's just a third Luigi's Mansion, you know? But it's selling like crazy. So I don't know, that just goes to show the power of Nintendo IP. You know, these are all Nintendo IP, you know?
Yeah. It is just absolutely shocking. So, Mike, I'll throw this over to you. Particularly, I mean, that Animal Crossing number 2, I never saw that much success. I love Animal Crossing. I've loved Animal Crossing for a long time, but to see it absolutely blow up on the Switch is just insane.
Yeah, absolutely. That is actually a game I totally should have mentioned when we were talking about what would we like to see as launch titles. I think Animal Crossing would be another solid move for them. You have now just so many people who are into it. I mean, I stopped playing Animal Crossing a little while ago just because I'm not going to stay with the same game for a super long time. Aside from like my multiplayer shooters, I need to move on and play other things. It's just kind of like the nature of how I enjoy games. But I have friends who I'll be playing Pikmin 4. I look up in the corner of the screen, I see, you know, my friend has just hopped on Animal Crossing still. And I know that they've been playing it since day one. It's not that they just got it. Like, these are people who are still playing it. So that would be another one I would definitely add to the list of launch titles that would be a big success for them on the new Switch. A new Animal Crossing. Absolutely. I mean, there's so much potential. It's just easy for them too, right? You add new villagers, add new stuff, bring back old stuff, because half of me playing Animal Crossing is just that I want all the fruit furniture in my house. Yeah. I don't even want the new stuff. Just give me all the same old furniture in my new house. I mean, that game's addicting for sure. It's a game I've spent a lot of time with. I was considering going back to it recently because I haven't played it in
going back to it
quite a while. Too. Yeah, I haven't played it in so long. You know, I played it immediately.
And I think I'm over the PTSD of like, you know, like, oh, it reminds me of the early pandemic. Like, that's like not a big deal anymore. So
yeah. That honestly happened to me though. It was just a very stressful time. And that game was a breath of fresh air, but it also was quite the reminder of the beginning of working from home and just being isolated, being in my studio apartment alone 7 days a week. Like, those weren't fun memories, but I do kind of think about Animal Crossing every now and then and say, maybe I should jump back in, especially because they got rid of the thing where your villagers move away without telling you. I remember being heartbroken on GameCube when I hadn't played for a while and I went to my town and like everyone's gone. You know, it's like, what happened? Like, where's all my friends? So yeah, that would just be totally like a move that they need to do for the next console. There's got to be a new Animal Crossing sometime soon. Or maybe they'll do the Mario Kart treatment and just bring this current Animal Crossing to the new Switch. You know, wouldn't be surprised by that either.
Yeah.
So, Animal Crossing in 60 frames per second.
Yeah, dude. That would be so. It would, dude. The fishing in 60 FPS. That'd be great.
Cool, like, it'd be really cute, you know.
So I have a write-in from Real Radic, and there's a link in the doc if you guys want to open that up real quick. But he says, sup, punching up crew. There's a new list that shows all the 62 first-party Nintendo games that have sold at least 1 million copies on the Switch. In case you saw this, what games surprised you the most? For me, I was shocked to see Clubhouse Games at 4.6 million, while also being surprised that Bayonetta 3 only managed to hit above 1 million. Thanks and take care. And then, of course, he posted the link where there's a Twitter that has just like a spreadsheet of these 62 games listed out. And Radic brings up some great points where you see at the very bottom 62 is Bayonetta 3 at only 1 million copies. And that's what's so funny to me thinking about this list is just Nintendo has this ability to just sell any game and have it like games that you wouldn't expect to just do super well. He brings up the what's the name? The Clubhouse Games selling 4.6 million. There's some other interesting things on this list too, like Miitopia getting 1.7 million, which is just a game no one thinks about, no one talks about, but it's sold over like almost 2 million copies. It's crazy. So, Gene, I heard you mention earlier about Luigi's Mansion 3 being at 16. Is there anything else in this list that's shocking or surprising to you?
Yeah, I'm very pleasantly happy to see and surprised to see Kirby and the Forgotten Land at number 23 with 6.46 million copies. That's huge. That's obviously the most best-selling Kirby game ever, and that's a lot going on right there. And Kirby Star Allies, 4.3 million. And then what else here? Bayonetta is interesting. Here's the interesting thing. I'm surprised to see Astral Chain outsell the entire Bayonetta trilogy. You know, not together, but you know, Astral Chain has sold. Astral Chain by Platinum Games is a new IP. And exclusive to the Switch, sold 1.3 million, 1.32 million, whereas Bayonetta 1, the re-release, sold 1.24 million. So pretty good for a re-release, but I'm actually pretty happy to see Astral Chain selling over 1 million, mostly because that was a really, really creative game. I would consider it a JRPG, and the combat system for that is so interesting and fascinating. It's like they kind of try to do it in Final Fantasy 16 using Torgal, but they really didn't commit. Whereas in Astral Chain is just a really actual. You're actually controlling two characters at the same time, and it's fascinating to use. So, those are my biggest surprises and pleasant surprises, really.
Micah, you're getting into Xenoblade right now, and it's funny because I think a lot of Xenoblade fans rightfully feel like they're rooting for this underdog. But when you look at the sales numbers here, like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 selling 2.7 million. And I just quickly looked up Persona 5 Royal, which granted is a re-release, but still that sold 2.3 million. So it's at least arguably a contender in that space of selling millions of units. And I think this is just some part of the Nintendo effect and the Switch effect too, where again, anything Nintendo puts out on the Switch, you look at the success of Pikmin 4, it kind of brings life to these old IPs, not old, but IPs from the previous generation that maybe just didn't get the full shot. But now that Switch release really pushes it into the stratosphere on this one. So, Micah, not just in Xenoblade, but how are you feeling, or what sticks out to you about this list?
Yes, same as Gene, I was very surprised to see Astral Chain on the list, only because that's a game I was interested in. But the moment that I started Googling reviews, I was quickly warned off of it. I saw multiple people saying, like, don't buy this game. Like, it's decent, but it's not worth your money type thing. And I ended up not playing it. So that truly surprised me, just because it's a game that really caught my attention. But as soon as I started researching it online, you know, the general consensus was don't play this game. So that was just one of those ones that I said
you should play the game if you're interested in something. Like, it's a complicated battle system though. Like I can't just pick up and play it right now. Like, I will have to relearn it because like you're literally controlling two people at the same time, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really neat concept.
It's a super JRPG though, with the side quests, and you're walking around towns and talking, and you're like upgrading your armor and your weapons. Highly recommended, guys. definitely.
Well, now Gene's selling me on it, so maybe I'll try it out at some point. But that was the number one that surprised me on the list. Also surprising was to see Nintendo Labo, that the first
Yeah.
variety kit on the list, only because it was so expensive. I mean, and it's just that idea of like, it was kind of, I don't want to say hokey, that's not the word, but I am a hardcore collector. I was interested in it. I did not spend a dime on Labo. I don't own any Nintendo Labo stuff. I fully just said, like, this is for actual children. It's not for me. But that was genuinely surprising to me to see on the list, just because of the price point that those variety kits were coming in at, the complexity of assembling them. Like, Nintendo Labo seemed like every parent's nightmare because it's Lego, but it's cardboard and you can rip it. So, like, that really surprised me to see
I never got one
on the list. Yeah, I never bought any Labo stuff. So that truly surprised me to see, just because of those various factors, the price point, durability concerns for parents. But I'm happy to see that they did sell some, because otherwise it would have just been a complete like flop for them if it already wasn't. Is it generally considered a flop? Like Labo, have they even made new sets recently?
I don't think so.
I don't know if
It seems like it's been gone for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where it was an experiment. They probably, it made the list here. It's sold over 1 million. And I imagine the development on that was, that's such a weird thing to try to estimate what the development, whether it was expensive, because it's so different.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Nintendo, and I guess that, you've led me to another point here where seeing another experimental release with number 11, just missing the top 10, Ring Fit Adventure, 15 million. So sometimes these weird things that Nintendo does pay off. I know that Mario Kart, the weird, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, 1.7 million. So clearly sometimes these different weird things they do can pay off. So
what I'm surprised is Super Mario 3D All-Stars, the collection of Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. The one that was a limited release. It's sitting at 21 with 9 million 0.07. I'm a little surprised it didn't crack 10 million. That's a little surprising to me.
I think that if it was available at the time of the release of the Mario movie, they would have sold a lot of them. But
yeah, for sure.
This is, again, that's like the quote of the show is, this is Nintendo we're talking about. This is a company that doesn't always make any sense. So, but interesting sales numbers nonetheless. Curious to see how it shakes out once the Switch is dead next year, forever. Not really, but when we move on to the next system. Number 2, Animal Crossing Legos may be in the works. This comes from a Lego leaker named Extra Bricks Legogo. And their little leak purports that there will be 5 different sets priced from $14.99 to $75.99. So, and that's 5 total different sets, and eyeing a March 2024 release. So Nintendo has partnered with Lego before on those Mario sets, with the Mario that has the weird glowing eyes. That have you seen the photos where if that Lego Mario is turned off, he just has like a black void where his eyes are? It's very creepy. So, Micah, I know you're an Animal Crossing fan as well. I guess we're all Animal Crossing fans, and you also, I guess we all like toys too. So, but I'll just throw this to you first anyway. Would you be interested in Animal Crossing Legos? I feel like it sounds pretty tempting, though. Up to $75 for a set, though. For Legos, that's nothing.
That's the thing. I'm a big collector. I don't collect much Lego because of the price points. Generally speaking, the anime figures, that you see behind me, most of those standalone, like single character figures are like under $30, like very reasonably priced. Some of those I got for like around 15, 20, depending on the retailer. And obviously pop figures, insanely cheap. Lego is high quality. Like, I'm not saying that it's not worth the price, but Lego sets are often very expensive. I'm sure Holly saw the Lego, like Lord of the Rings Rivendell set.
Oh yeah, we looked at that.
Okay, yeah, I wanted it, but what was it, like $500? I mean, I can't do that, especially because I genuinely don't have a place for it. That'd be something that I would probably build. I would have to very sadly put it away. Animal Crossing sets being, this seems much more reasonable in terms of, it looks like they're going to have smaller items as well as like a larger play set. That would be something I would probably get some of the, like, if they had like minifigs and all that, I'd get a couple of those depending on like what is available in like the smaller kits. That'd be something on my radar, but not a large Lego set, simply because I don't have any place to display like something like that. And I would be sad to just be keeping it in the box all the time. But it certainly gets my interest because I love the minifigs, especially. I loved the Lego movie, I had the little Emmett minifig. So that gets my attention for sure. I'm not the person who's going to buy the huge, set to play with.
Mm-hmm. That's my thing always, is that Legos are expensive. They're really fun to build. But then, I mean, depending on what it is, it just becomes a display thing. And depending on how big it is, that was the thing with that Lego Rivendell. It's like, I need another room for this, just this display. I mean, maybe that'd be worth it, but it's a lot. So to be clear, also, this is just a leak. We don't know for sure if it's happening, but it sounds so likely. I mean, this is a match made in heaven with thinking about all the different minifigs of Animal Crossing characters in Lego form. Just sounds awesome. So, Jean, do you think that you would be interested in adding one of these collections to your background? No Legos.
No. I have no more space in my apartment. I have I can barely buy an Amiibo. I only want the Pyro and Meteor Amiibos, and I think those are the last two toys I will ever get for the rest of the time.
Perfect for the jar.
Yeah, for the jar.
You're gonna need 2 jars though, or just 1 jar if you want to be, economic on that.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna be like Rex, right? And just love them both at the same time,
Oh yeah, very good, very good.
And not gonna do it. I have Animal Crossing Amiibo, and I feel like that's enough for my Animal Crossing fandom. I'm not like a huge Animal Crossing fan. I'm not even really a Lego fan. I haven't bought Lego since I was a kid. So
yeah. Yeah, my thing is, like I said, the last few times I bought Lego a few years ago, it's so fun building them. And then it just kind of sits there. And I'm like, I think a regular figure looks better than this Lego thing I built. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. So
yeah, it's fun to put together. I remember having fun putting Legos together, but then I wouldn't do anything with them. And I don't really want to like play with them. I don't really want to display them. So I don't know. I've just never really been into Lego back in the day. I was definitely more of a Transformers and G.I. Joe, and I probably play with Barbie more than I play with Lego.
Okay, yeah.
At least Barbie was like a fully formed human that you can like role play with.
Oh yeah, definitely some role play going on. I'm sure.
Dustin.
Does the Barbie fit in a jar too? You need a bigger jar.
You need a very large nice jar,
size,
like a pickle jar.
Yeah,
that's going to take a few years to fill. Number 3, now that the Red Dead Redemption news is no longer in here, is Zelda Oracle of Ages and Seasons are now available on Nintendo Switch Online. I have no experience with these games, and Micah, I'm guessing you don't either. So, Gene, I'll throw this to you as our Zelda expert.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited about this? Are these games that people should be desperate to check out?
Yes, you should play them. I list them both as in my Washington Post rankings of the Zelda series. I list them as 8th.
Okay.
8th best Zelda game, and I can read what I wrote. These two games are essentially one. You can't complete one story without the other. And although Capcom created this game during the height of the Pokemon trend of releasing 2 different versions of the same game, they went above and beyond by creating separate stories and worlds. A decision in one game would affect the other, and the games were allowed to focus on one of the 2 pillars of Zelda. Seasons focus on combat, with interesting enemy designs and some of the most memorable boss encounters in the series, while Ages gave us some of the most compelling puzzle dungeons in a 2D format. So
okay.
That's my take on those games. Yes,
so you got to play them both. That's the take. Also.
Yeah, you got to play them both.
Okay. Very cool.
So it'll take up some time for sure.
Interesting. Again, I feel like we say this. There's usually almost every episode we cover some kind of new game available or games available on Nintendo Switch Online, which I just think is fantastic in that that service continually provides some awesome stuff that's worth checking out. So if you want to fill in some Zelda gaps or maybe return, go check out Oracle of Ages and Seasons on Nintendo Switch Online. The last bit of news, this one's really for me more than it is for you guys, but I found this really interesting, is that there are rumors that an Amiibo restock is coming. Now, for those outside of the Amiibo world, this is a pretty big deal because Nintendo traditionally, we have seen reprints every once in a while. Like Zelda, they went out and they've done reprints of the Zelda Amiibo.
Yeah, for Tears of the Kingdom for sure.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, they did that. And so it's not totally foreign, but this would be a pretty big deal because as we're seeing from this Greek retailer called Game Explorers, apparently has been consistent in leaking stuff like this in the past from the Amiibo subreddit, that there's multiple waves of stuff coming throughout the year, starting, I think it's in the end of August or around September. So these are the waves, and these are the Amiibo that you could expect from them. I'm going to read through these real quick. Wave 1 would be Mario, Peach, Donkey Kong, Link, Fox, Samus, or Samus, whichever one you want to say, Pikachu, Zelda, Luigi, Rosalina, Olimar. Wave 2, Captain Falcon, Bowser, Lucario, Sonic, Mega Man, Charizard, Ness, Pac-Man, Greninja. You got to say it like that, like he does on the Greninja. Jigglypuff, Mewtwo, Famicom Rob, Cloud, Cloud Player 2, Bayonetta, Wolf, Terry, Banjo, and Kazooie, Young Link. And then there's some other one mixed in there, such as the Link's Awakening Link, Wedding Mario, Peach, and Bowser, the Metroid collection that has Samus and the squishy Mother Brain one, Wolf Link, Archer Link, Rosalina, and the Super Mario Bros. Line with Boo. So this is pretty interesting, and I wonder if this could enrage some people because some of these Amiibo are much harder to get now due to the fact that it's been so long since they've printed. And I already have almost all of these, but I got to say, if there's a Wave 2 print, I might fill in my collection with some that I didn't get first time around. Like, specifically, I have the Cloud that is the standard costume, but I don't have the Player 2 one, which is the Advent Children costume. Kind of want to get that.
I have
and then I hope that the Bayonetta one, I only have the Bayonetta 2 version, but I would like the Bayonetta 1 version as well. So this theoretically could devalue some people's collections, but you know what I say? Fuck them. It's not about the value. It's about enjoying it. So, Micah, are you gonna, if this happens, I don't know, you're not into it. Do you own any Amiibo at all? I know Colin has some.
Oh yeah, I got a bunch.
Oh, you do?
They're just smaller, so they're in various places on the shelf. But yeah, like one of my favorite ones actually is Joker from Persona 5.
That's one of the rare ones.
I opened it.
Me too.
I opened it right away.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I love Amiibo. I don't have as many as I want, only because I try and show some restraint. But there are several on this list that I want. Like, for example, I do have Wedding Mario and Peach. I was gifted those. But I would definitely want to get, like, Rosalina, Olimar. Those would be, like, definitely want to get on my list. Yeah, some of these are just like ones that I remember. Like, I remember Famicom Rob being really cool. I didn't have any connection to it, so I didn't like even try and get one. And then as soon as it was just like gone forever, I was like, oh man, like I just should have bought it. It was cute. It was a cute little robot. It's not. So there's several of these that I would like to get.
A Rob, so yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Pac-Man, some of like those just like classic characters, I would definitely just want on the shelf. And I think I'm trying to remember, I have like Colin's master list of Amiibo that he was looking for. Because actually this year I bought for him, I think Simon and Richter when I was ordering the Pixel Remaster Final Fantasy from Play Asia. And I just decided to check out what Amiibo they had that were reasonably priced. And those ones were like a fair price in my opinion. So I picked those up for him. But there's probably a couple of these that are on his, overall list of ones that he doesn't have yet. I think the Link's Awakening is the one that he doesn't have as well. So we're going to be excited about this, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for people to get in. Like Dagan, who I wish was here, has always talked about wanting to get some Amiibo, and this is his chance. We're going to have to touch base with him when he's back on the next episode. But Gene, I know you have some Amiibo, but you also said you're out of space. So are these going to be? Oh, you have quite a few.
Yeah. And
Very nice.
my desk at work is just full of them too. That's where the rest of them are. Yeah, I'm mildly excited for this. Amiibo. The thing about Amiibo is that you can easily like just fit it anywhere, right? Lego sets are like different. Like you need like a room for that shit, right? Whereas Amiibo, you can just like plop them anywhere. And so I don't have Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is a little hard to find. So I'm really, really excited for Donkey Kong to be released. Donkey Kong is an important character, but I kept sleeping on getting him. Joker would be great, but I'm not really a huge like Persona 5 fan. So
Rough.
that's really why I missed out on that. And I didn't like Pyra and Mithra initially, so that's why I didn't pre-order those from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But now I've really grown to love those characters, so now I'm really bummed that I don't have those. So that'll be really hard to find. But yeah, the Boo one that's also hard to find too. So yeah, I can't wait for these.
Yeah, I think it's exciting, and for me, like I said, Amiibo has never been about the value. It's fun, I guess.
Yeah, the only reason why they're expensive is because you can't have them. So now people can have them. That's it.
Yeah,
that's great.
And that's fantastic. There's only one Smash Amiibo left in the lineup, and that's going to be Sora when that comes out. That'll be the only one that I buy two of. That I will open one and I'll keep one in the box because that'll just be too cool.
That's a special one for you.
Yeah, I open all of my Amiibo except the only one I have still in the box is my Dark Souls Solaire Amiibo. It's just because it's such a unique. It's so weird seeing a Dark Souls box.
That's weird. Yeah, I still can't believe it's real. But I opened that one.
Yeah,
that one's gonna unopened. It's Sephiroth.
Oh, Sephiroth, nice. Yeah. Amiibo are great. We should do a whole episode or at least a whole segment about Amiibo at some point. And I can tell you about the when I was really obsessed with Amiibo and going to I remember the Rosalina launch was a big deal, and people knew they were going to go be limited, and me lining up at Target, and there was a bunch of other people, and they were doing the fast dad walk to the electronics department to try to get the Rosalina Amiibo. It's just insanity for a while.
The Rosalina one because Justin Roiland, the creator of Rick and Morty, was tearing apart stores nearby his place looking for one. So.
Dude, they were tough. They were tough to get.
Yeah, for me that was Marina and Pearl from Splatoon 2, which I have. But that was my that's my white whale. I need this Amiibo for the collection. That's a must get. So I have those. Yeah, that was mine. I'm not missing this at all. I need these.
Yeah.
The rapper Splatoon girls, hell yeah, you need them.
Dude, I think I don't remember if I have those ones or I have to look. I have too many now. I can't remember which ones I have. So let's get into what we've been playing. And so before we get into anything, I want to quick note for Micah on your Xenoblade Chronicles adventures. This is from James Walker, who writes in with a bit of an advice and says, greetings punching up pals. This one's for Micah. 100% you should play Xenoblade Chronicles X, but you'll need to emulate because you can no longer download a nearly 10 gigabyte patch that is damn near required to even see the text on the screen and fix a lot of issues since the Wii U eShop is shut down. Thought I should write in to warn you so you can get the best experience. Peace. So, Mike, I know you're not going to be emulating it because I think the only PC in your house that would do that is Colin's, as far as, a power standpoint. But is it? I didn't realize you can't even get updates on Wii U now.
You can't. So I was worried about that situation. And it turns out that I actually had all those packets installed in my Wii U already. So I was like, whew.
Yeah.
That's good. So now my Wii U, which if you guys don't know, I just reconnected it a couple weeks ago to replay Xenoblade Chronicles X, and it's running fine because I installed it before and I never uninstalled it. And right now the only thing on my Wii U is Xenoblade Chronicles X and those update packets.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, and for Micah, your options are slim. At some point, maybe I would be open to figuring this out. There are ways where you can figure out how to make a Wii U do things like download stuff that if you wanted, maybe next time I'm at you and Colin's place, I could figure out that you could play this, because that might be your only option, is doing some things that Nintendo considers very nefarious.
I would recommend
yeah.
you just go play 2. Just
skip
the
it.
story. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. Because I've been waiting to bring this up, I was gifted a copy of it from a
nice.
lovely listener named James. James had the game in his collection, heard me talking about how I, quite lamented that it was something that was just so hard to find.
Is it the same James that's talking here? James Walker?
No, different James.
Different James,
this is James S.
Interesting. All the James are looking out for you.
But so James had the game in his collection, had tried to play it at one point, and it just didn't click. So he was just happy to just get rid of the game. I offered to buy it. He insisted no. He's just sending it to me. So I was extremely grateful for that. This is where, though, worlds are going to collide. Now I wouldn't feel guilty emulating it, right? Because I am just one of those people. I still feel bad. Exactly. Like, I still feel bad for all the games I stole when I was in college, putting them on my homebrew Wii. So, I wouldn't feel bad emulating it since I legally own a copy. As Dustin mentioned, though, we only have like one computer that's capable of that, which is Colin's. So that's not ideal. But yeah, I would certainly, I'm going to see what happens. Like, I'm going to set up the Wii U. I'm going to put the game in. I'm just going to see what the hell's wrong with it. And if it is indeed so horrible, then yeah, I'll have to find another way to play it. But I am just very thankful to James for sending me that copy, because even if it is in some way unplayable, having that in the collection is just, I'm over the moon with that. Definitely, you guys know me, collector through and through. That's just in my DNA. Mm-hmm. So it's still an incredible item to be able to possess, even if I'm not able to actually play it on the Wii U. But we'll find out. I haven't set it up yet because I've just been so busy with all the merch stuff. Yeah. It wasn't even something I even got to tackle.
Reminder for everybody out there, from a month ago now, Punching Up is a pro physical games podcast. It's an official political stance of the show, pro physical games. So I totally understand being just happy to own the disc regardless. But I want to read 2 write-ins, but for subject matter, I'll read them in order. But maybe your friend James, who sent this in, he signed his thing James S. So maybe it's the same James. But first we'll go to...
Oh, yeah, that's him.
Okay, that's him? Okay, good. Oh. So both of these are about Pikmin. One of them's a comment and one is a question. It's from Jace Timulovich, who says, "What's up, fresh from the onion Piklings? I just want to thank you all for the recent Pikmin love. I love the first 2 games on GameCube, but my fandom had gone dormant. You ignited my interest, and I'm now at the end of Pikmin 1 with number 2 on deck. And so excited to experience 3 and 4. Keep plucking those color-sorted plant people." And then from your boy, James Solar, who says, "Hey, Punchers, I was curious if any of your opinions have changed on Pikmin for 2 weeks, after 2 weeks with the game. I enjoyed the areas in the main story, but I adored the areas and mechanics introduced in the post-game. After nearly 50 hours, I've completely 100% of the game, and it's taken the spot as my favorite Pikmin game. Can't wait to hear your thoughts, and keep practicing good Dandori. Best, James S." So the Dandori boys are live, as I say to Holly, Dandori and chill. We always joke the Dandori, because there's those Leaf guys. They're obsessed with Dandori. They're like always talking about it. I'm like, man, the Dandori boys, they want to be efficient, So Micah, James says we're 2 weeks with the game now, and I know that's what you're playing. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, still fantastic. I am approaching the end of the game now. Don't want to spoil anything, but I'm getting towards the end. I was delightfully surprised, Dustin, to see you talking about on Twitter that you had finished the game. I was like, wow, you beat me to it, because I thought I was like really heavily playing this. But my only gripe with it is actually Dandori related. So when you do a Dandori battle, if you fail, there's a thing that pops up and says, like, do you want some help? And I just wanted to click on it just to see what it would do, because I thought help just meant like maybe they'd give you a second character on your team, and help means that they just do it for you. Yep. And that's it. And I was like, that was not explained well. And I mean, I lost by 1 point, which is why I clicked it in the first place, because I was like, I'm going to take a chance, see what this does. I only missed it by a point. And I was like, dude, like that's really heavy handed that the answer to get help is, oh, we'll just do it for you. I totally thought that it meant that your other captain character would just help you and not that they would just complete the whole thing. So that was a little bit of a gripe for me. I will say I finally got to play the nighttime missions, which
Yeah.
are cool. It's a little disappointing because I feel like when the game was advertised, like now you get to play at night, I was expecting like, yeah, you'll have access to the full world like at night. What you get instead is like specific nighttime missions, which is fine. They're fun. I enjoy what they did with it. And like the glow Pikmin are really cute. But it was just like, this isn't exactly what I expected. I definitely thought we would just have nighttime access to the world. Maybe there'd be more enemies. Maybe the enemies would be tougher, like real risk reward situation. What I didn't expect was that there would be like very regimented sections of like what you can do in those, events, but still fun. Still enjoy it. Serves a purpose in the game, so that really like motivates you to do it. So I enjoy them, but that was a slight disappointment just because it wasn't what I was expecting, and it felt slightly like not what was advertised. They were vague, on purpose, obviously, but that was a little bit of a gripe that I had because it's fun, but it's just not exactly what I had in mind.
Yeah. So let's get into another question here. Keenan Delaney says, "Hi, punching up crew. Is Pikmin 4 too long? I'm loving the game and I'm about 25 hours in, but I feel like it's overstaying its welcome, especially for a Pikmin game. Normally, Pikmin games can be completed 100% in about 10 to 15 hours. This one seems almost double. Am I out of pocket here, or do you feel the same way? Love the show and happy belated birthday, Gene." Gene, happy birthday. Just last
that's
week.
right. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
congrats, Gene,
Appreciate
on your
it.
birthday. Wanted to make sure we brought that up. But for Pikmin 4, yeah, Mike, as you said, I just tweeted last night, I'm done with the game. I 100%ed all the main levels, and I got all the treasure. I realized afterwards there is a mode I did not do. I'm not going to detail it because it's technically a little spoilery because you don't get it until later in the game. But there's a mode that I did not do that I'm just going to save for later. I need to be done with this game for now. So speaking specifically to Keenan's write-in here is that I don't feel like the game is too long necessarily. The way this game is formatted, and I'll keep this spoiler-free, is that you can beat the game within the first 3 levels. At the end of the 3 levels, you get the credits. But then the game's not over. There's 2 additional levels after that. So you can really put in that 10 to 15 hours and beat the game. But to me, when it comes to being a completionist, it's good that there's more content. Like, I don't know. It seems weird to complain about it when you're the one choosing to be the completionist. But I have to agree in some sense because the end of this game, the very end, and again, no spoilers, is a little bit of a slog. I didn't feel like it was too long until I got to the very final part of the game, which I won't go over, but I can understand feeling that way. But yeah, this game is pretty surprisingly long. It's got a lot of different collectibles, a lot of different modes, and I gotta say, through and through, I enjoyed it so much more than I ever expected to. I checked out a little bit of Pikmin 3, as I said in past episodes, but it never really hooked me. But then this game just totally, it was so satisfying going around collecting all the treasures, figuring out some of the different puzzles. And it's somehow an extremely relaxing, it's either very relaxing or extremely stressful. It's one of the two, and it jumps between them in a way that actually works. So I can't recommend this game enough, really. And for all players, like I said, I'm pretty new to Pikmin overall, but I just absolutely fell in love with this game. And as you may know, there's a demo on the Switch eShop, which you can check out the beginning of. But I gotta say, the beginning might be the weakest part because there's all this talk. All the astronauts just talking and talking and talking. It's a little annoying. That's probably one of my biggest gripes with the game is that I just didn't care about anything the astronauts had to say ever. Pretty much to the
A
point where
lot of story, yeah.
I was just skipping it. Towards
Mhm.
the end, I kind of wanted to know what happened with a few different scenarios, but that was kind of annoying. And Mike, I gotta agree, the night missions, they're fun, and I'm glad there wasn't any more of them. There's just
Yeah.
enough of them that if I had to do any more of them, I kind of would have been annoyed. So those are interesting. So yeah, I recommend Pikmin 4 highly, and I'll be thinking about it for a while. I just need to get it out of the way. Not that I was rushing, but I pretty much, that's almost all I did yesterday because I really want to play Baldur's Gate 3. And I
Yeah.
thought if I start Baldur's Gate,
You're
it's
never
going to
going
get
back to
slippery
Pikmin.
with
Yeah.
Pikmin. So I got to finish this out, get my 100%, and move on. So, Gene, I don't know what you're playing. What's going on with you right now? I know were you playing Baldur's Gate, or you
Uh,
tweeted something about that you're skipping it. So what's going on with you?
yeah, I've been kind of all over the place. I'm wondering if it's like my ADHD kicking in, but like I've been a lot of the games I've been playing are like short games. Well, recently I reviewed the Doom book or the autobiography by John Romero,
Yeah, I saw that.
the
That's
creator of
awesome.
Doom. And so I just really wanted to immerse myself in Doom. So I started, and then so I played a little bit of Doom. And then when you play a little bit of Doom, you end up playing all of Doom. So,
Hmm.
and then I ended up playing Doom 2 and then Doom 3. So I was doing all of that on my Nintendo Switch. Fantastic ports. But I haven't been playing Pikmin. I haven't been playing Baldur's Gate. The reason why is because both of those games, they take a lot of thinking. And I'm
Hmm.
not really in the mood to think right now when I want to play a video game.
Sure.
I, I'm still at a JRPG pick, and I'm still working my way through Octopath Traveler, which is an incredibly long game. That's I want to talk about a game that's too long. That might be one. Uh, maybe one chapter shorter could have been fine. Or actually, no, I don't know. I don't know. It's still pretty long though. It's grindy. You gotta
It
farm
is.
so much. Um, but the only new game I played on my Nintendo Switch is a little indie title called Hong Kong Massacre.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
John Wick, the game that inspired that one scene
Yeah,
in
yeah. The
John Wick
reason
4.
why is because I finally watched John Wick 4. Fantastic movie. Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe how good it
So
was.
good. Yeah.
Like, dude, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, this is almost as good as the first movie, which is like an incredible thing to say because the first movie is like I would consider John Wick 1 like up there with like Terminator 2 and Aliens and like Mad Max Fury Road as like one of the perfect action movies. The Matrix 1 too. I mean, Keanu does it all right. And then John Wick 2 was really good. John Wick 3 I thought was good, but I thought it just kind of went along a little too long and nothing really happened there. And then John Wick 4 comes in and it's like, dude, oh my God. Like, there wasn't a lot of story in John Wick 4, but the action sequences were just so entertaining and so emotional that you're just so invested. Um, and then of course there's the one scene that was inspired by Hong Kong Massacre, and I was like,
Mhm.
I gotta play this game now. I gotta try it out. I don't want to play Hotline Miami because that's not what inspired. Hotline Miami inspired Hong Kong Massacre for sure.
Yeah.
So the lineage is still there, but I don't want to play Hotline Miami because I want to play something with those pyrotechnics. Something that looks like the dragon's breath of a shotgun. Um, and I beat that. I beat. There's a sale in the eShop right now. You can buy Hong Kong Massacre for $20, which I don't
Oh,
really recommend. Or you can buy it as part of a bundle, and you can get it with Splatter Zombie Apocalypse, another weird indie game that's a top-down shooter, and you can get those for only $2.99. So that's what
wow.
I got. I got Hong Kong Massacre for $1.50 and Zombie Splatter Apocalypse or whatever for $2.99. And you know what? The zombie game's not that bad either.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Hong Kong Massacre before.
Not a great game. Like Hotline Miami is definitely better.
Yeah.
In Hotline Miami, you can punch. You're swinging baseball bats, crowbars. Like you can slam like people's heads into the wall. In Hong Kong Massacre, you're just shooting. It's basically a Max Payne like top-down shooter.
Okay.
But it's fun to shoot and to like dive around and avoid bullets, and it's not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Very interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out at some point. I know it's also on PC as
Some PC,
well.
some PS4. It's kind of
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah, pretty janky, and the save system is really weird. I hate when games don't tell you when they're saving. When there's like no way to actually save, and then the game doesn't even communicate that it's saving. So I have no idea. Like, just be wary of that. But if you're only gonna get it for $2, I don't think you have anything to complain about.
Yeah, for sure. Micah, I know you just wrote Pikmin 4. I didn't know if you had anything else you want to talk about before we close out this segment.
Yeah, no, that really has been taking all of my attention. And I do want to say it is interesting, the writing we got about the game being potentially like too long.
Yeah.
I think part of why I didn't feel that way so far was because I don't have a big history with Pikmin. But glancing at like that website, How Long to Beat, it certainly would be a shock to someone who has played all of them of like, oh, the first game's like 8 hours. The second game, like around 10 hours, I was realizing, wow, that would be quite the difference if that's the experience you're used to. Like Pikmin 3 Deluxe was, longer than both of those titles, but this is an exceptionally, long game that, especially if you're used to the older ones, I can see why it'd be like a shock to the system, but I don't think it overstays its welcome. I certainly don't feel that way as of right now. I'm still having a lot of fun exploring it. I also feel like it's a bit easier. Like, I only played Pikmin 3 so far. I'm waiting for the physical release of 1 and 2 to play those. But I feel like Pikmin 4 is a bit less puzzly, in my honest opinion. Pikmin 3 had some moments that really had me scratching my head of, like, how do I get my little captains over here to get that piece of fruit? Like, what do I do? And in Pikmin 4, most of what I feel is just you're waiting to unlock the correct Pikmin type so that you can get the item that you're standing right in front of.
Right.
It just feels less puzzly to me. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I can also see why if the puzzle aspect was your favorite part of the Pikmin games, it might feel like this is an easier game and then it is way too long. So I understand that criticism. I don't necessarily feel it myself, but if you were a longtime fan of the game, I sympathize with it because it's quite different. And you also, one thing I forgot to mention, you can only have 3 Pikmin types out at a time. And that gets frustrating when you're like, I have everything I need to get this item, but I have to go all the way back to my ship to get this one particular type of Pikmin because they only let me have 3 types at a time. And that's different from Pikmin 3, let you have just like whatever you wanted. So that is a bit frustrating if you're used to the older style of games. Some of the stuff feels like almost like they're like hand holding to try and prevent you from killing all your Pikmin, but there's a rewind time aspect. So it feels a bit too player friendly in some of those regards, but I'm still having a great time with it. And that's actually like one final thing I'll mention. The helpful hints in the game, I wish you could turn off. Because, for example, if you pick up like a pellet or bring back a dead animal, as soon as the Pikmin sprouts are planted, you'll hear your captain be like, make sure to pick those. And then someone else will be like, yeah, make sure to pick those later. And it's like, I don't need 2 reminders the second that the Pikmin are like generated to tell me to go pick them. It really is this little things like that that start to annoy you a little bit as the game goes on because I'm an adult and I don't need all that extra help. That would be something I would think would be helpful to disable just for those of us who are not actual children playing the game.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking about that, about the difficulty. The first, I think this is smart from Nintendo's standpoint. Anyone can beat the game as far as hitting the credits, but the levels, the post-game stuff that James was mentioning is, I don't want to say it was super hard or anything. I was able to get through it, but it is definitely significantly harder than the standard game, which I think is smart to put that after for the people that really want that. Particularly the end is pretty tough. So yeah, we'll keep you updated as Micah finishes Pikmin 4 and as Gene maybe eventually gets to it.
I'll get to it eventually. I definitely want to go back. I have the entire series. I bought Pikmin 1 through 4 because I'm dedicated to knowing this IP. Again, it's my knowledge gap in Nintendo. Besides Fire Emblem, I'm not really that into Fire Emblem either. So yeah, I think those 2 IP are the ones that I don't really know anything about. But
yeah,
right now I'm really just playing Final Fantasy 13.
Nice. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, man. I'm speaking of Switch ports that are stuck on the PS3, or ports that are stuck on the PS3. Final Fantasy 13, man. You know,
Hmm.
it's playable on the Xbox in 4K, which is amazing. And it's crazy that the PS3 version is just stuck on the PS3, man. God, I just wish I could play it on the PS5 or the Switch.
Isn't that
It'd
like
be, it'd be
it's like one
perfect
of
for
the
the Switch.
few Final Fantasy games that's not available on
It's
PlayStation 5?
Yeah, it's just one of the few the Final Fantasy games that are just not available anywhere besides PC right now. You know, so that's why I was like, you know what, I have a Steam Deck. I can play this handheld right now if I wanted to, and
Yeah.
so I replayed it again in 2019 or whenever FF7 remake came out. Because after I played FF7 remake, I was like, you know what, a lot of things about that game were like Final Fantasy 13. I should go back and play that because I feel like I
Mhm.
misjudged that game. And the thing I was mostly thinking about was, you know how in FF7 remake when you're walking around the towns, and instead of just going around and just talking to people, you can you can see the word blooms pop up, and that's how the game communicates. Like, oh, this is how you're getting information. This is like going around every person and talking to them, right? And I was
Mm.
like, that's what FF13 did. You know, and we all complained that FF13 didn't have towns, but it's like they were kind of doing that. They were serving the function of the town. You're just walking past them and you're getting all this information. Um, so yeah, I'm just really, really super enjoying FF13 right now. It's the complete opposite of Baldur's Gate, where Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate gives you so much choice, like in every aspect of the game, and FF13 gives you no choice at all. It's just run down this hallway. This is a story. These are the characters. Love them or not, you know. So
Yeah. It's been so long. I don't think I ever finished that game, but I did play it when it came out.
mhm.
It's been a long time. That seems like it would be prime for a new port, whether it's Switch and PlayStation, Xbox,
Mhm.
whatever. I guess Xbox already has
Xbox
the
doesn't need it. It's the same situation as Red Dead Redemption, which is crazy. You know.
right.
Again, it goes back to what those third-party people were saying about a Switch. You know,
Mhm.
now Rockstar's mad that they can't resell the same fucking version of Red Dead Redemption 1 on the Xbox because the same fucking version of Red Dead Redemption 1 is already available. It works on the Xbox,
Yeah.
but they can sell it on PlayStation and charge you $50 for it. Yeah.
Oh, they would love to charge you $50 for that,
Hmm.
and they will.
Yeah.
So cool, man. So I have 4 final questions to end us out this show. And the first one is for you, Gene, specifically about something you said on a
Hmm.
recent show. You might need to help me with his name. Henrique Colho?
Coelho, I think.
Coelho?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
Sorry, Henrique. But
Yeah,
yeah.
well, we tried our best. So he says, "Hello, punchers. Last week, Gene was talking about his desire to be famous here in Brazil and that he's learning Portuguese. As a Brazilian myself, I got curious on why. Would he elaborate on that? I have a hunch. Are women? Gene, if you ever come to Rio, I'll buy you a. What is
I
this?
I can't pronounce that either.
I can't pronounce it. I'm going to try. Please don't make fun of me. Caprinha at
At
is this like
Ipanema
a
Beach.
Panama Beach?
Ipanema Beach.
Ipanema
Yeah, I
Beach?
can pronounce that. So
I don't know. Okay, what does
We're
he say at
so
the end here?
American.
I
I
don't
am the whitest
dude.
American right now.
Yeah, dude. So I've been trying to learn Portuguese, dude. The language is so hard. You know, like the pronunciation, it's really really difficult. It's way different than Spanish.
Yeah.
So like I'm still trying to get used to that, and I'm struggling.
Mm.
And you know, it's funny because I watch this YouTube video. It's like how I learned Portuguese in like 11 days. I'm like, damn, that's crazy, man. I wish I was that smart, but I'm not. Henrique, you're a little bit right that it is a little bit of the women factor. You know, I grew up in Guam, so I grew up around a lot of brown people. So for me, I'm naturally very, very attracted to brown women. So Latina women, South American women, Brazilian women, definitely. You know, but it's not really just that. I just like Brazilian culture. I like Brazilian humor. I think Brazilian internet is one of the funniest things, like one of the funniest places to be on the internet. And you know, I just thought it'd be fun to be a celebrity in another country. You know, just like Spinal Tap was in Japan. You know, uh, wouldn't that be great if Gene Park was like a huge deal in Brazil? So That's where I'm kind of getting at. Right now, I'm debating on how whether I should keep going with the Portuguese, which I do want to, and I'm still trying, or whether I should be actually practical and brush up on my Japanese, because I actually do know some Japanese. I can read some Japanese, and if I actually just train that better, I could just know Japanese. And I just want to learn a second language. So it's either Japanese or Portuguese.
Yeah. I was curious when I saw this write-in from Henrique. I thought that was unexplained last week. We just kind of kept going. I was like, that actually is a pretty good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah, so thanks,
Yeah.
Henrique.
So I'm glad
You're
we
right.
could.
Yeah, it is the women. You know me pretty well already. So
Yeah. This next one comes from Nick Gagas, who said, good day to you, my beautiful soda Popinskis. The next iteration of Switch can't come soon enough. We shouldn't have to spend time adjusting the settings on our 4K OLED TVs so they don't look like complete shit when displaying 1080p Switch games. I'm talking to you, Nintendo. Get with the times. What are your experiences getting the settings just right on your TV, or do you just play undocked? Love the show. You guys make an awesome combo. This is a good point, Nick, that I've thought about because I have messed around with the settings on my TV to make those Switch games look a little nicer, though ultimately it's just going to come down to the upscaler on your TV. The LG OLEDs do a pretty good job, but one thing I did, and some people might consider this heresy, was the Switch OLED has like a brighter, vibrant color mode that isn't color accurate, but it looks nice. I like it. Something about the colors being slightly more saturated. And then I'd put it on my OLED TV, and I thought, this looks not quite as vibrant as it did on my Switch. So I went and manually increased the vibrancy on my TV. Again, even though it's less accurate, just for that HDMI port for Switch, just to get a little more pop. And I feel like that hits really nice on the Nintendo game. So I would recommend, it's not going to fix any of the stinky qualities of its output resolution, but it will make it's a little nice making it vibrant like that. So Micah, I know you're constantly switching between the two. Does this bother you at all when you see it on your 4K TV that it's all jaggedy and nasty?
No, like Colin makes fun of it. He'll be like, "Look at that menu screen. Look at it." And it's. But I don't notice these things. I genuinely didn't know people were like messing around with their TV settings to try and make their Switch look better. It's not something that ever crossed my mind. Half of that, though, is that since I was a child, it was very important to never press buttons on the TV remote that were not channel or volume, because I just remember always getting in trouble for like, what'd you do to the TV? Everybody's red. And it's like, I don't know. So I don't explore the TV settings. Yeah, I don't fuck around with the TV settings, right? Like, no thanks. That's going to be left the way it is. Do things look a little jagged sometimes? Sure. Are people a little blurry? Occasionally. But I also don't have very good vision, so I blame it on myself sometimes. Like, man, I got to get new contacts, right? Or my glasses are out of date. But no, I'm not fiddling with the TV settings. I put the Switch in its dock, and what she gives me is what she gives me. I just play it as is. It'd be way too scary for me to try and navigate our TV menus and figure out how to make it look better.
Yeah, understandable. Gene, I know you said talking about, you're like, maybe I should get an OLED TV, but how's the Switch faring on your current TV?
In the HDMI port I have it in, I have bumped up the sharpness to a full 100. I don't mind aliasing in my games, honestly. I think if there's no aliasing, it's fine. I'm playing a video game, like I don't mind seeing pixels. I don't mind seeing jagged edges. I like that it looks sharp. So I bump up the sharpening. I haven't tried bumping the saturation to match the OLED screen, but I feel like that would be better once I actually get an OLED TV. But I keep the colors pretty much as is. I do mess with my TV settings, but not really for my Switch because there isn't really much you can do. Again, the most I've done is sharpen it just so it doesn't look blurry anymore. But that's about it, though.
If anyone
but I do play a lot on my TV, though, for sure.
Yeah, I'm always. I mean, I do sometimes play handheld when I have to, but I just love the big screen.
I think it's 50-50 for me. I play handheld and TV, but it's nice to have. That's the reason why I like the Switch. I love being able to have that portability. It's even easier than hooking up the Steam Deck on the TV. So yeah.
If anyone out there has checked out, there's a device I've always been curious about. I could watch a YouTube video, but I just haven't. Called the M Classic plug and play. It's like a HDMI thing that you plug in, and it's supposed to add a little bit of anti-aliasing and do some upscaling, which I know that sounds interesting.
Yeah, if
but
anyone's using that, let me know because I heard of that too.
yeah, so let us know if you're using that and if that helps out. The next one comes in from Meatball, who says, "Good day, pipe sliders. My wife and I recently found the old Wii as we were cleaning out some storage boxes, decided to dust it off. We booted up Wii Sports and had a blast taking a trip down memory lane. All was going well until she made the erroneous claim that, quote, golf is the best game. This is now a house divided as clearly bowling is the best. Help us settle this feud, guys. What are your Wii Sports tier rankings? Thanks for all things LSM." Meatball, I gotta say, it is bowling. Bowling is the best one. And here's the thing, Meatball, golf, a good one. If she had said boxing, then you might want to run away because the boxing game in Wii Sports was just horrible. Baseball, not bad. But now, Micah, I see you reacting a certain way. I'm very curious about this.
I mean, what are you talking about? It's tennis. It's gotta be tennis.
Tennis is good too.
Like what?
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about? Bowling? The bowling is the best game? That can't be although I'll say bowling is the one that got like grandparents playing the Wii.
Oh yeah.
And like
that's why it's the best
like,
game.
That really is. That is still like the nursing home favorite. All right. And it really was like my old roommate, like his grandpa would occasionally be like, "What about that bowling game you got?" And he'd like, you would let him play Wii bowling when he came over. It was like wild to see this man in his 80s playing Wii bowling. So I understand the appeal, but tennis is absolutely my favorite. Like that's where it's at.
Yeah.
I think bowling has an advantage because you don't have to throw a heavy bowling ball, right? So that's kind of like the power fantasy that you're just throwing air, and it's very accurate. You're right that it was the senior home game, and the reason why is because it's the most fun version. It's the most fun game there. It's the most. I used to be a bowler. I used to go to bowling alleys a lot. I would say that Wii Sports bowling is the most accurate out of all of them, and I played tennis before too, and boxing too, and golf. All of these. Played all these sports. Bowling was the most accurate one.
Wii bowling was so special in that era of the Wii because I was easily able to have my parents play the game too. And I remember there was like that probably around like 6 months to a year after the Wii came out, we were regularly playing bowling just at night, maybe 8 or 9 p.m. Hey, let's play a quick game of Wii bowling. You have a few friends over, Wii bowling. It was a very special time where it's just this simple bowling game on Wii was tons of fun. I will say I remember when Wii first came out and Wii Sports in general that like we were talking about the boxing and the pitching for the baseball game. I remember like my arm being sore, like just giving it everything you got. And then eventually realized later that you could just like lightly flick it. You never had to put any force into it, but Wii Sports was this very special thing. I
bowled at the White House actually.
Whoa!
What?
Yeah, because you have a bowling alley in the basement
with Obama.
Not with Obama, but there's pictures of Obama there.
So Obama he was watching you bowl.
No, he was not there.
He wasn't there.
He was.
So you were just bowling in his house while he wasn't there.
I was bowling in his house while he was away. So
okay, very interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, they have pictures of every president like bowling at the bowling alley there. Basically, I don't think Trump ever bowled. So
are they in a suit in the pictures?
No, they usually they're in like a button down like shirt, but they take their jacket off at least. So there's that.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. I like that that's down there. I'm curious. I'm gonna have to look up pictures of that. I've always wondered about the White House. Bowling.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just like 2 lanes basically,
Yeah.
And it's like,
Oh yeah, I see that now.
yeah, and the
That's
outside is just like a plain white hallway, so it looks like a fallout shelter, but it's actually just a bowling alley, you know.
yeah.
Now, do they actually have bowling shoes? Like, or do
Yeah,
you're just wearing your street shoes?
yeah. No, they got the whole thing there, you know.
Wow.
Very interesting. All
Yeah.
right.
I haven't been to the movie theater in the White House. That's one I did not get to see. And that's why it was weird that Biden went to go see Oppenheimer like at the movie theaters. I was like, I don't think a president has done that in a long, long time.
He had to go see an IMAX.
I think,
like to
I think he
imagine.
had to go see it in the 70 millimeter. You know,
70 mil. That's right.
That's a man of taste and culture. There you
Yeah.
go.
The last question comes in from Sean Galvin, who says, "Hello, folks. Will the Wii U ever be a sought-after collectible? I'm investing in that idea now. I buy them up when I see them at Goodwill, etc. I have multiple gamepads and consoles that I'm sitting on. Am I buying into a penny stock destined for failure, or am I on to something? Thank you for your time." Sean, I say absolutely the Wii U is going to be a sought-after collectible. Small amount of them out there comparatively to other consoles, and it's Nintendo. Now, there may be some question as far as there's not very many exclusive games for it anymore because a lot of them got ported to Switch, but think about like pretty much, is there any Nintendo console that isn't somewhat collectible now? As far as like they're just the Wii, actually. The Wii is probably one, but there's so many of them out there that you just find them everywhere. When I was yard sailing, I was always finding Wiis, which still did have some flip value. If you found them, you could sell them for, depending on the price and stuff like that. But Micah, do you think your Wii U is going to be, will it belong in a glass case at some point?
I'm really unsure. The biggest thing for me is how cumbersome it is to actually set up the Wii U. You know, the whole thing with the Wii, and you had like the motion sensor, and they carry that over to Wii U. It's just not an easy system to actually just set up and play. And so while I had fun with the Wii U, it to me, it's almost like that Virtual Boy level of like, people weren't really into it. I don't know if they'll actually want one in, 5-10 years just because they didn't have one. In a weird way, I think the games are more collectible than the system itself. As you mentioned, there are some titles that have come over to Switch. Like one of my holdout titles on Wii U that I still haven't played it yet, but I own it, is Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE. That got brought over to Switch. I refused to buy it on Switch because I already own the Wii U copy, and I'm determined to play it on there. But it's just one of those things of like, yeah, so many of these, titles are already on newer hardware to play. But I do think that some of the Wii U like physical games, in a weird way, those to me are more valuable than like the Wii U console itself. When we factor in what we talked about earlier of like updates and things not being available, it's like, well, you might even not be able to play these in an optimized way on your Wii U, even if you have one, even if you own the game. So it's kind of, for me, more about the game catalog than it is actually having the console itself.
Yeah. Gene, I saw you holding up your Wii U. And is it considered an important part of your collection?
I think with you guys in that the games are a little bit more important. So I think that kind of lessens the value of the Wii U a little bit, because the reason why a GameCube is so valuable is because there are just games stuck on there, right? Same with the DDS. I would pay pretty good money for a Wii U that is guaranteed to be loaded up with a lot of like good eShop titles, though, because that is something that you can't really get right now. It's kind of like a PS4 that still has PT on it, So yeah, a Wii U with a bunch of eShop titles that you can't really get anywhere else. If you were smart enough to really invest and just download a whole bunch of shit onto your Wii U, that's probably smart.
Yeah,
and I would pay money for that one, like on eBay or something,
Yeah, there's definitely still some collectible games that you mentioned. We talked about last episode, Game and Wario for $108 right now. Twilight Princess HD is $104. Surprisingly, I'm looking at this list on price charting for $87. Cabela's Big Game Hunter Pro Hunts. Must have been a limited print game on that or something. But so yeah, get your Wii U collection now while it's still within the range of affordability, because these smaller consoles, these not successful consoles, always end up going up in value. So, yeah. Well, that's it, guys, for punching up. This was a fun one. I'm glad we got to talk about new Switch stuff. And of course, sad Dagan could not be here, but as long as he's alive, I would imagine, whatever happens in Canada, whether it's a moose or drowning in syrup, who knows, he will return. So thank you guys for doing the show with me and hanging out. Micah, closing comments.
Closing comments is that I thought I had missed Vampire Survivors on Switch, but it's coming soon. It's coming out on the 17th. It's one of those games that, no, and it hit me the other day. I was like, what was the game from the Direct that, everyone was like, you have to play it. And I was like, it's Vampire Survivors. And then I thought, did I miss it? Did I just forget it was out? And no, it's coming very soon on the 17th. So I just want to remind everyone who's as dumb as I am that, hey, don't forget about this game like I did.
Yeah, that's very important. I'm wondering how it's going to run on the Switch, because it makes my Steam Deck practically take off with its fan. So that'll be interesting.
The bit rate is going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's going to be something. Gene, any closing comments?
Yeah. I'm super. I keep wondering, like, oh my God, did I miss Vampire Survivors? Is it out already? And I'm like, so I'm disappointed that it's not out yet. Coming out on the same day as Red Dead Redemption. And you know what game I'm going to be playing? I'm going to be playing Vampire Survivors, the game that I've already completed twice on the Xbox and the Steam. I've already gotten all the achievements. I haven't done it on the iPhone version. I feel like I kind of don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'll do it all over again on the Switch. It is, Micah, it is so fun to just complete be a completionist. Dustin, you played it though, right?
Oh yeah, I played a lot on Steam Deck. I don't think I didn't 100% it or anything, but I played a lot of it.
Have you played the DLC?
Was there multiple DLC out? I think I played the first one.
Moonspell, and then there's the one I'm literally forgetting, but it's in a forest.
Okay.
There's the snowy mountain ones with the Japanese flavored new characters, and then there's the forest one with like a knight and like a rogue character with bows and arrows. You should check them out, because their OG Vampire Survivor maps were just like infinite scroll maps, right? Like you're just going wherever, right? The new DLC, they have level design in the new maps. Like there are areas, there are regions of the map that you go to, and there are like mountains, mountain paths, and there's a castle over here, and there's like a dungeon area, and there's a lake area with special monsters that only show up there. It's crazy. It's crazy now, But yeah, if you just start with the OG game, you're gonna have so much fun too.
Yeah, why not?
But also, Brotato is out on the Switch too, and Brotato is another Vampire Survivors like, where you play as a little egg, and instead of Castlevania weapons, you have guns.
Ooh, an egg with a gun. Okay, sounds good. My closing comment. This happened just a few minutes ago. I realized my Evangelion slides are breaking. They're just they're all. I just got these like a month ago.
Those are gorgeous,
that's a bummer.
Oh, that's
I know. I absolutely love these. They're starting to split already.
That sucks though, man. Already,
Atsuko, I'm calling you out. These were $40, and they're already starting to split. But
yeah, I was gonna ask you where you got those, but you know what? If they're already starting to split, I'm good,
dude. So. The shirts, the merch on Atsuko is amazing. I've gotten everything I've had there has been awesome. These slides. Not so hot though. Originally I had ordered a size larger, because that was what it said, and they seriously were like 3 or 4 inches off, like longer than my foot. So I had to get new ones, and now they're already breaking. So, damn it, can't have all the Ava merch, I guess. So that's it for punching up. Thank you again for listening. If you're listening, you got this far, please leave us a like, a subscription on YouTube. We'd really appreciate that. It just helps us out, and maybe share with a friend. Tell a friend, say, hey, this is a great Nintendo podcast you should check out. Share on social media, whatever. And of course, support us on patreon.com/laststandmedia, where you can get the show early at just $5 a month, along with all of other great stuff. So thank you again for listening. We'll be back very soon. Goodbye. Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand, LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and produced by me, Dustin Furman. My co-hosts are Gene Park, Dagan Moriarty, and Micah Watson. The show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Punching Up, along with the rest of Last Stand Media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your kind contributions and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.